Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Shockwaves. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Galuzzo, staring at me with love in his eyes and a red stripe in one hand.
Nothing but love.
It's Elric Kane.
The deep end of horror.
The deep saying it in his trailer voice.
That's my Eli Roth trailer voice.
Your Eli Roth
my Thanksgiving voice.
Of course, and our third host, of course, the lovely Rebecca McKendry.
Lovely.
I'd challenge that.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Challenge.
That's Elric. We got to be nice occasionally. Well, I'm going to try to.
You be nice.
Rob. That was
you work with her.
Yeah. You know. We're gonna be nice here. So it's funny. We're gonna do things a little bit differently as always because, we don't want to give the same show every week. We want to spice it up.
Mix it up.
It has nothing to do with the fact that Elric is leaving town and that we're doing this earlier than usual. Nothing to do with that.
That's true.
But no, it was a fun idea that we would, it's pretty early in this show's history, even though a lot of people know us from Killer POV. But
which won the Rondo Award. Still waiting on it.
But
one of Entertainment Weekly's top podcasts of 2015.
That's right.
Not to blow smoke up her ass.
Not this show, though.
Not
that was the last
one. This show's unproven.
It's early, yeah. So, but for the new people, we just thought it'd be fun to open up to you guys for questions. So both Elric and I opened it up to both Facebook and Twitter to see if you guys had any, things you were curious about.
We're going to do it rather rapidly.
Rapid
fire.
Fire.
Try as much as our brains can do it. I got a good one from Sean Vandiver from Twitter.
Yep.
If there was one movie you can go back in time and watch for the first time on the big screen, what would it be? So
easy.
Take in the context, okay?
Yeah, got it. All right.
Oh, yeah, I know what yours is.
Yeah, of course.
Do I even have to ask, or should I let the audience fill in the blank?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing is you hear these stories about, what these films were like to audiences of the time period.
Yeah.
And,
we talk about a lot on the old show, like,
of course.
Whenever we can meet someone who saw it.
originally.
Like Steven Rebello's was incredible.
Yeah, so obviously for me it's Psycho. I think it's fun, like you go on YouTube, you could find audience reactions to John Carpenter's Halloween. Yeah. And it's fun hearing people scream. But the interesting side point to the story I have is, so they made the movie, Hitchcock a few years ago, which is about the making of Psycho. Right. And Ryan Turek, who you guys know from the show, who will be on later, he was at Shock to Drop at the time. He had the opportunity to do the set visit, and he gave it to me. He's like, hey, do you want to go do the set visit on Hitchcock for me? And just by sheer coincidence, there were several days that I tried to go, and every one of them, for whatever reason, the schedules couldn't line up. So I went on the last day of shooting when they were shooting the recreation of the premiere of Psycho. Oh, okay. So it was as close, like I went to a theater in downtown LA. I'm walking up. I see right there on the marquee Psycho. I walk in and it's crazy. It was like tons of it's the theatrical poster, but with the actors within the movie in place of them. I had pictures of it. I wrote an article and everything. It's part of my set report. It was as close as possible to actually going to the premiere. Because then I got to watch them film Anthony Hopkins as Hitchcock getting out of the limo and coming up. I watched them film that whole scene. And I was like, well, I didn't get to be there in 1960, but it feels like I got to see it this way. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. What about you guys?
Cool. Mine would, I think I have two answers. Jaws, I would definitely, just because that one had such an effect on me as a kid, and that was just like watching it on VHS. That was one, and just hearing my parents tell stories about what it was like to see in the theaters. The cops are coming, guys. The cops are coming. But
we're way more gangster than our old show was just so uniform.
So urban.
We're doing this in like a dirty alley in downtown LA.
Yo, Becca, spit it,
yo.
I'm spinning tails, and my next one would be the Tingler. Totally gangster.
Oh yeah, you get the scene.
Yeah, I've always, or even House on Haunted Hill, just because I feel like that's something that we're really lacking in theatrical screenings now is the gimmickry.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I loved how William Castle tried to bring in things like that. Like even John Waters with Smell-O-Vision. I just love elements like that. The Tingler, because it had the feel-o-vision where you're actually getting shocked, or House on Haunted Hill because they had Emergo, which was the name of the skeleton that they like slung down from the projection booth. But I've always wanted to see a movie where they have some type of gimmick like that.
I'm not sure if this is correct, but I thought the Cine Family, aka the silent movie theater in Los Angeles, I believe they do the Tingler every year, right?
Every year,
but,
and they do some. They
do it.
It's Paula Hayfie's husband.
Boyfriend.
Jordan. Thank you. Jordan, that sets it up. And so he and Paula go in every year, but they only wire 5 seats. And I have been twice now, and I have not sat in one of them
I
yet.
might go this year. There's always so much on Halloween, so it's hard. But that's a film I'd love to see on Halloween.
Yeah. I want to see it where the entire audience gets
that'd
shocked all at once. I think it would be amazing.
I would go a little earlier than cinema. I would probably save Abe Lincoln. Go to the theater. And I'd save his life, because you fuckers let him die. Obviously, I'd probably go.
Can I tell you a funny story about Lincoln, just really quickly? Yeah. Tom Holland.
There's not enough Lincoln jokes.
There's not enough Lincoln jokes. Tom Holland, who wrote and directed Child's Play, Fright Night, classic stuff. Anytime we get in a debate about actors, because some actors are nice, some are not so nice. He always would say to me, "Remember, an actor shot Lincoln."
That's great.
Anytime we were talking about the questionable antics of an actor, he's always like, "But just remember, an actor shot Lincoln."
We're looking at you, AJ Bowen.
You do a very good Tom Holland impression too.
Well, thank you.
But no, in reality, there's no question. It's Life 3, Island of Its Life. Like, it's to feel that in a cinema, the pulsating trial scene at the start.
Wait, that's 2.
Part 3, Island of Its Life. It's the opening scene is the big trial.
To experience Michael Moriarty's kind of
the irony
of
my answer is probably that it never went to theatrical. It's probably a straight to VHS release. But if I had one, it would be Exorcist, only because I've never experienced a movie where people passed out and there was ambulances. That whole the stories around that are so interesting to me that I can't even imagine what it must be like to see it with an audience who hadn't seen it yet, and them shrieking and fainting. I'm like, oh, that'd be so fun. Like, it's everything I want in a horror film. I want to go to Conjuring 2 and people to do that. People are scared in Conjuring 2, but it's not going to fuck your shit up. Do you remember that movie? It was Daryl Hannah and Dudley Moore, and they did an honest advertising.
It was called People, something People.
Yes, and they had to do an advertisement for a horror film, and it looked like Exorcist, and it goes, "This movie won't just scare you; it will fuck you up for life." And I always thought, that's so good. Like,
well, it's a couple episodes when we had Mark Pavey on, which you haven't listened to yet, but he told the story that he would always convince his dad to take him to the movies, and he'll never forget they went to go see John Carpenter's The Fog, and in those days it's not like advance tickets; you buy tickets for the next show. So the doors were closed, and it was still the previous show. They're waiting in front of the line, and they heard screaming. And his dad just turned to him. He's like, "You sure about this?" He's like, "Yep."
It's like a roller coaster.
You hear people screaming in the last screening. So
that's so
love
true.
That.
Super cool.
Do you want to fire one from Facebook, and then I'll.
Hold on, I didn't have it ready.
I'm still looking up this Dudley Moore movie because I used to love it when I was a kid, and it is called Crazy People.
Crazy People, yeah.
Because it was in an insane asylum.
Yeah.
Because they hired the inmates to write the ads. That was it.
This will be a quick one. Okay. This is John L.E.L. Tenney from Twitter. Says, what are the host's favorite films featuring characters who are psychic? Or films around ESP, PK, telekinetic.
Friday the 13th, Part 7.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's
The New Blood.
That's pretty good. I'm glad that you just put that over Carrie.
That's the great, no, it's, well, the Rage Carrie too.
Yeah. Oh, whoa, all right.
I'll go over everything except Carrie.
For some reason, I think you're going to answer Fury. But
and Prom Night too.
I do like the Fury, actually. That's a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
But
Fury's got some pretty good telekinetic stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I think that there's probably some other ones that I would
They're very different, too. Like a psychic and a telekinetic are pretty
Oh, God, Scanner Street. What am I thinking of?
Yeah, because you can blow some shit up.
I
really like that Fulci film, The Psychic, but it's pretty slow in comparison to Carrie's just a really kind of visceral, great little movie.
No, I'm trying. No, never mind. Hold on. That's not quite. Maybe Eyes of a Stranger. I like ones where they can see what the killer sees. There's also, and it's not well known, there's an Ali Sheedy movie called Fear. And I know, and you're like, Ali Sheedy?
Yeah. No, really? I used to love Ali Sheedy.
It's a great movie, and it's just called Fear, not the Wahlberg one, but it's her. Thank you, Elric's banging on his chest now. But yeah, it's Ali Sheedy, and she plays, I think she calls herself an empath in the movie, which is apparently different. But yeah, and she can sense this killer that's going on. Oh, speaking of which, you know how we'd always talked about bringing a psychic on the show?
Oh, yeah.
My daughter goes to music class with a psychic, and she's always there, and she's like, oh, Blumhouse, I must work with you guys.
Hook it up.
We could get a psychic on the show now, guys.
Now, would we call the Conjuring and Insidious films, would we call Lynn Shay and the characters
Warrens?
in Conjuring? Well, the Warrens, would we call them psychics or empaths or
I
don't know.
occultists?
Yeah, she likes the Insidious films because she immediately was like, oh, you made the Insidious films? And I'm like, I had nothing to do with the Insidious films, hon, but I've still heard all about what's wrong and what's incorrect or what's right about them. So yeah, these are questions for her. So some night we will have to bring a psychic on.
I like it.
All right.
You got one?
Next, you're going to be like, oh, let's do a live Ouija reading.
Yeah.
No, none of that. Sure. From Eric Fetchit on our Facebook page. He wanted to know, did you ever listen to the Dead Pit Radio podcast when they were doing episodes? And what other podcasts besides Shockwaves do you guys recommend?
I did listen to Dead Pit.
Yeah, I was actually a guest on their show once. I loved it. They were a good show.
That was back when I was doing Fango Radio, and there was like, I'll call it like some friendly rivalry because Debbie ended up going on their show at one point, but there was a point where they made fun of Dee. And yeah, so I started listening to their show.
No, they wrapped up.
Didn't get wrapped, but I started listening to their show because of that. And plus they're from kind of the area, of Southern Virginia where I went to college. So like they were near there. I think they were Kentucky based, but because I knew the area they were from, I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to start listening to it. So yeah, it was a good show.
Any others we would recommend? You'd fire out?
Well, I've already said, the Damn Fine Cast, which is the soundtrack one. You know what's cool about that? If you're a soundtrack lover and subscribe to them on iTunes, the guys behind those have essentially started like they do the official one for Milan Records, and Lakeshore, and they folded them all into their one feed. Mm-hmm. So even, they just did a really great interview with Brad Fidel. All because of the Terminator. They just re-released the Terminator again. So that's always one of my favorites. And, the usual ones, Bret Easton Ellis and, Mark Maron for interviews.
Like, that's the problem with Bret Easton Ellis. I love the content, but it's like, sometimes it feels like a month between shows or something,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson because I'm a nerd, and absolutely love him. Like, in another life, I married that man. I could listen to him talk for hours.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, I love him. And then I also, like shows where they don't necessarily get into like the stories behind the stories, but they just tell ghost stories. So there's a couple of those that I listen to.
Yeah, I gotta listen to lore more.
That's one.
I've only started a couple episodes of that. I listen to Projection Booth whenever it's a film that I'm interested in, and I always really like them, but I can't listen every week because sometimes it's stuff you have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
And then one I've just heard recently, I've listened to about 2 or 3, and I like it. Faculty of Horror. It's
I've seen their
Alexandra West. I think you're friends with her.
Yeah, they pop up on my feed all the time.
Two writers from Toronto, I believe, and they are kind of more academic, and they just will take like one topic, like we're going to talk about Shivers and sex and Canadian films. There are probably like 40 episodes by them, and the couple that I listened to are really cool. And she just wrote a book about French extremism, which came out like a week ago. So he's the first person to write a book on the horror of French extremity. I think it's the first major one published.
There's been a couple of them, but they might not be major.
Yeah, this looked like pretty expensive. Anyway, those are fun ones.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Got any more from Twitter?
Well, with Mr. Ken Hanley, who now
guy.
pretty much owns everything Fangoria. He has Fangoria sweaters, t-shirts, socks.
He owns
it all now. He asked us about 10. So I'm going to just pick
10 questions.
A couple quick ones here. I like this one. Most fucked up film you'd recommend a stranger. Like right now, a stranger comes in off the top of your head, some crazy movie that you'd tell them, oh, you got to see this.
Okay, so I am at Phoenix Comic-Con last week, and this woman comes up to me, and she's telling me about how she really likes horror that affects her. And she's telling me that she really likes a lot of French films because of that, and asked for recommendations. And I recommended Fat Girl. And then, and I also recommended, there was another one that Taxidermia, because she was like, I like things that kind of are repulsive, but really affect me. So I recommended Fat Girl and Taxidermia. And as soon as she walked away, Dave looks at me and he's like, I can't believe you recommended Fat Girl to somebody you've never, she's going to go home and she's going to think you're the most fucked up person.
Yeah.
She wanted.
Yeah,
Fat Girl for me.
I think the funny thing about this question is more like, what's fucked up to you? Because there isn't much that, like, besides like Martyrs and maybe 3 or 4 other titles that I think are fucked up.
Yeah.
There aren't many films that I view that way.
No, I mean, I guess I'd have to talk to the person and get a feel for what they consider fucked up. But if it had to be just one off the top of my head, it'd be Angst, which, is our recent discovery of the last year.
But Yeah, you're right. I mean, fucked up is kind of a very personal thing because now that I think about it, Fat Girl isn't even a horror movie.
Well, but it's fair in the same way Irreversible would fall into that category.
Which is fucked up.
Yeah, that would be something I might even recommend.
I'd recommend Dead Alive to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, some people will love that, but some will consider it fucked up.
Yeah. No, I think, that's a hard one to answer. Maybe, Funny Games, the original, in that same vein of this is fucked up, but it's interesting and makes you think a little about form and narrative.
I'm more hesitant. Some of the things that I consider, even though none of us like the phrase guilty pleasure, like the movies that I know are pretty polarizing, I feel worse like recommending those to people if I'm kind of like, you know what, you might want to try The Forest because it's got some good moments. If they come back and they're like, that was the worst fucking movie I've ever seen.
Right.
Those are the ones I'm more kind of nervous about.
Right.
I will fire up because it's a fun one from him. Follow up. If you could interview one deceased horror filmmaker who's passed, who would it be, assuming they came back to life and did podcasts?
Well, I mean, for me, it's Perkins. And I know, technically most people know him as an actor, but I'm just so fascinated. He only did 2 movies as a director. And I'm just fascinated by what he did on those 2 movies, including Psycho 3. So
yeah, that's a good one.
Great to talk to him.
Doris Wishman.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
I've always wanted to interview her, and she passed away kind of right as I was getting into, kind of the point where I could have asked her for an interview. And yeah, I wish I had that chance.
All right, nerds, get your boners ready, because I'm about to drop it. I would do a sit-down commentary, 2-hour commentary with Stanley Kubrick watching The Shining. Fuck all you haters. including my friend Mick.
Because you would totally do that.
But I think that would be pure gold. To literally sit down with Stanley Kubrick and talk for 2 hours watching The Shining and hearing what he would say. Oh, yeah, that thing, that took us for fucking ever. We had to build the whole fucking hotel with the lights and the, because he's like a New York Jew that, people forget that about him because he ended like the last 40 years in England in kind of isolation. But they forget this is like a New York, Brooklyn Jew who like I know he had vision, man. He was on the street taking photos, man. I don't know. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So thanks, Ken Hanley, for that visionary question.
I got a bunch of quick fire ones from Facebook here. Let's see. Jeff from us on Facebook says, single best horror sequel of all time that blows all others out of the water. Whoa. That for me would be Maniac Cop 2.
El Gustavo was just waiting to watch it.
It has a rap, people, a rap,
and that's why that's just like the cherry on the top of why that movie is amazing. It's so much better than the first.
I've got one for you, Ryan Turek. Get ready for it. It's coming just for you, baby. Welcome, Fright Night Part 2.
You are a madman.
That movie is
a crazy person.
One day, that's going to be on Blu-ray.
I own this on VHS. You guys should come over and watch it some night, just so we can validate.
No,
we're not watching
okay, actually, no, sorry.
On VHS.
I'm canceling my entire answer when you said, when you reminded me blew the other one out of the water. It does not blow the other one out of the water, but it comes very close and is a great movie. It definitely doesn't blow it out of the water. I'm with you on that.
Luke Galliozo. It looks like my name, Galliozo.
Was this your long lost twin?
Maybe. This is for you, Elric, because I don't think Becca and I can answer it. Favorite Australian/New Zealand horror films?
Yep, I could.
Oh, you could?
Yeah, well, it's just because Dave did
Australian.
Yeah, he did a big exploitation thing. So,
all right, well, go ahead.
What would you pick?
I would definitely. I love Day After Halloween, also known as Smash.
Oh, I want to see that.
Snap cut. What is it? Snapshot. That's it. Because it's got this great opening song where it's a snap. Yeah, it's wonderful.
I mean, there's obvious Brain Dead, which is what it'll always be called to me, Dead Alive.
Yeah.
How I saw that as a kid blew my mind and bad taste. But New Zealand hasn't got a lot of obscure ones. There's one called Death Warmed Up. That was the first kind of punk splatter thing done in New Zealand. And years ago, I gave it my only copy to Elijah Wood when he was on Inside Horror. And I didn't have the balls to ask him when he was on, hey, did you ever watch that? Because I didn't want to make him feel bad when we met him again.
I gave you my one copy.
I gave him my one copy of this crazy, weird splatter movie. But I would say, in terms of best, I think Babadook now really stands out as like the most polished, with Housebound kind of short, quick, close behind.
Patrick's
the recent movie, Patrick's really cool.
Patrick, yeah.
And then there was that one set in the retirement village in Australia, and I the retirement home, and the name just totally, it always escapes me. This is directed by Tony Williams. So if you need to look it up, look up Tony Williams. It's all set in a retirement home, and old people are being killed, and it's like arty and slow motion and weird, but and then, hey,
I think it was in your the elderly article you did in The old people at the home.
It's not,
Yeah, I keep wanting to say burnt offerings, but it's not.
No.
But also
right.
I think, the
Strange Behavior, is that the one?
It's like that, but it's
Strange
not.
Behavior is
and Road
Australian,
Games
but
is,
Road Games.
is
Road Games is
American,
awesome.
but in a sense, but it's a great fun
Richard
film.
Franklin, man.
There's a lot of good Aussie.
Plus, any of the like alligator ones, like even going back to
Dark Age.
Dark Age, going through with Rogue, Blackwater. I love those.
I've been hearing really cool things actually when I was in Australia about the Wolf Creek TV show, which I still haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the story is. Do you know what it is?
No.
It got me so much more because I'm just thinking, more of him just going around killing people. The idea is an American family go through there. He kills all of them in a camper van except the girl, and basically the whole thing is her going, you know what? I'm going to hunt this motherfucker down and kill him.
Wow.
And so it's about her revenge story, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah, that's pretty good with me.
So somebody told me that while I was there, and I got so much more interested in.
You know what it
checking
is?
out.
I can't figure out how to watch it here
Yeah, I
in
don't know.
America because there's 10 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
And it's on, I looked it up once and it was on a network I'd never heard of. And I'm like, wait, but are they all out now? Like all 10? Is it air? I got to figure out how to watch it here.
Now, did you go to one of the Wolf Creek bars while you were over there?
I did. Well, actually, no. We were at one bar. They're all kind of that, but we weren't in as quite a remote area. I've been once to somewhere almost as remote as some of that stuff.
But they have actual Wolf Creek themed bars.
Oh, I didn't
now.
know that.
Yeah, I think they call them pop-up bars.
They call them pubs in Australia. They're all Wolf Creek.
No,
bars.
Camilla did an article on it
really?
on Blumhouse, and it was about these kind of like pop-up bars where it will just pop up, and it's these Wolf Creek themed bars where everything in it will be Wolf Creek themed.
Here's a deep question. I don't know if any of us will be able to answer it.
Okay.
It's Becky Belzil, who was on Twitter.
Recognize her?
Yeah, and she asked, because I think she's looking for deeper connections to movies, but which films affected you most profoundly? Example, made you question something around yourself, your life, or the world around you?
I have an article going up tomorrow on this, which will be up long before
2 weeks?
tomorrow. Yeah.
Go.
It's going to have been up for 2 weeks. Tomorrow I have an article going up called 10 Science Fiction Films That Changed My Life. So wow, nicely coincided. I will say Cube, Born in Flames, and Galaxy Quest.
Aren't they more sci-fi though? Or is
Yeah,
there any
these, well,
horror
that's, yeah, I did sci-fi in that. Horror movies that made me change my life.
or just made you question things. I think that's
a tough call.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I was deeply affected because, I like the true, I like reading about true crime, but it really is upsetting. Like, I like horror because it's escapism, and I tend to like stuff that falls in the fantastical. Or, stuff like The Conjuring. That's just fun. Like, I believe in paranormal. But it's like, I remember being deeply affected by, like, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer when that first came out, and watching that on video. Cause, like, I was in the slasher cycle watching Freddy and Jason movies, and then you see that. It's the first time you see Michael Rooker. So he's like this fresh face, and he's great in it. And it's like this weird, I guess it makes you realize, like, man, there's some evil in this world that has nothing to do with, horror movies.
Yeah, there's a real one that's very topical to right now. That it's kind of horror light, but it's really intense. We need to talk about Kevin.
Oh God,
yeah.
Tilda Swinton, but it's so like what's happening in America right now with
Netflix
shooters.
streaming right now.
Yeah, it's an intense portrayal.
It's crazy.
But I mean, I guess that can also mean, like, I felt a little different, like Irreversible, and there's some movies that kind of hollow you out for a few moments and make you just kind of go, ugh.
The end of, and this is weird because it was kind of existential, but the end of Cemetery Man was like that for me, where they realize there's nothing out there. And that was, which somehow does not blow the movie. But yeah, that was like a moment for me where they sit down at the edge and they're just sitting there.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone watches like a movie like An Exorcist or something and actually, changes religion or changes their beliefs just from a movie. It must happen over time. People who are really affected, but we watch so many movies, I doubt we're likely to have that dramatic an effect on us.
Yeah, if I have those things, it comes from other genres usually. I get a lot from science fiction, which is why I'm writing the article right now.
And no one's talked about Possession yet, so. But I would say like the movie like that, those are the kind of movies that maybe changed my, view on, say, the genre, what it could be. Like, cause you go, oh wait, this is a big domestic drama, intense, Kramer versus Kramer. And it happens to also be a horror film. So, and it doesn't change my whole life, it maybe changes my viewpoint on genre, so, which is fun.
Yeah.
This is, I'm curious what you guys think of this one. This is from, George Fox Leak on Facebook. And he writes, I'm a huge horror fan, but not many of my friends or family are into it, so I often end up watching horror movies alone. How do you feel about the experience of watching a horror movie is altered by whether you're going solo or with company? And which do you prefer? Are there certain types of horror movies that you think benefit from being watched solo or with a group, or vice versa?
I'd say that the majority of the horror movies that I watched up until I actually lived with like a guy were by myself because my parents were never into it. The majority of the stuff I watched in high school, I watched alone. And then even through college, I mean, my roommates were never into it. So it was always just me in my room, sitting on the edge of my bed, watching it by myself. I think it definitely made me pay attention more. If I'd been in a room full of people, I feel like it would have been jokey and I might not have been as focused and attentive on the films as I was.
Yeah, it's a bummer because you do lose that little audience attention. I mean, we grew up with VHS, so even though we always fight for the theatrical experience, the reality is most of the movies we saw were at home in the dark on VHS, not in a theater. And, all my favorite, I'm like you, I watched a lot of them alone, but all my favorite memories are watching them with like one friend, one person who watched.
Yeah, that's right.
But my best memories, and probably the reason why I'll always love the Friday 13th movies is because, my stepfather growing up was a Presbyterian minister and he would watch every Friday. I don't know what it was about that particular genre, but every Friday 13th movie, he would sit down. It'd usually be during the day and not at night because, otherwise I'd probably be freaked out. I was probably like 12 watching all these movies and he'd sit there and all you'd hear from the rafters every time someone got killed wasn't like, you shouldn't be watching this. This is outrageous. He would just go, oh, help. Oh, shoot. Oh my gosh. And he's got this high pitched, like Kiwi voice. And I remember it would end and he goes, I don't know if you should be watching that, Ulrich. And he's like your stepdad, so he can't do anything to you. He had zero power over me. So it's just like that feeling of you're sharing something and it's a little taboo, but it's also kind of fun.
Well, I miss watching the VHS, like you hit the nail on the head. If you have one or two friends, cause you're young, you rented it and you're not supposed to be watching it. So there's that weird thrill that you're experiencing with somebody. But then, like now as an adult, it's like we get to experience these theatrically, like at revival houses. That's fun. But a lot of movies I tend to watch alone because it's like, I don't want to put anyone through like some of my tastes, like the Italian horror movies and stuff. Cause,
South Korean stuff.
South Korean, you need to be a special kind of person and want to sit through those with
But that's the cool thing about growing up with, and if you make a cinephile friend, that's somebody who will watch anything with you.
Yeah.
It's also kind of fun that you know which friends you're going to take to which films.
Sure.
Kind of like going to prom or something. You're like, which will lead us to our final quick question because this is a really fun one from somebody who writes for your site.
Oh.
It's 3-part, but it's all quick.
3-part.
Derek Faraci, rock, paper, scissors. Who wins? 1, 2, 3.
Oh wait, I don't know the game.
Okay, one more time.
I'm gonna just point. I'm gonna point this out that Rob just brought a butter knife to a rock paper scissors fight. He literally put one finger out. He's like, "Oh, could I butter my skull?"
So technically, he would have won because Elric and I were both
I'm gonna have to change my psychology.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, scissors,
paper?
rock, paper.
Okay, got it.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I kicked both their butts.
No. What happened is you were smashing me, and he cut your throat with a scissors.
But I'm wrong.
So I know you won. So, as if anyone needed to guess, Becca defeated both of us with her hammer-like instincts. And then he follows it up with even more obscure. Freddie, Jason, Michael. Who do you take to prom? That was my prom connection.
God, who do I take to the prom? Freddie, I guess.
I feel like Jason's the better dancer.
Michael always comes home. I'm going Michael. Always comes home. And lastly, when will AJ Bowen be on the new show?
That's a good question.
If you're listening, AJ,
when are you coming back on the show?
Yeah, AJ.
It's kind of up
when
to
are you coming back on the show?
There you go.
Next week, probably.
Yeah, probably now. Anyway, that's where we go. I'm glad we can answer those.
Yeah, thank you so much for submitting those. We're going to check in with Ryan and then be back with some special guests.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's right. And we played that for a reason. I'm sitting here with the head of development at Blumhouse, Mr. Ryan Turek. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
And we got to see.
You know what? This thing's working out. I like coming back week after week to just promote a cool movie.
Yes, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we got to see John Carpenter in Los Angeles as of this recording. He's on tour now.
So good. And
all I have to say is if he's coming anywhere near you, you have to go.
Yeah, you have to. You really have to find a way just to get a ticket. Because I feel like this is I don't know if he'll do this again. I mean, like his tour schedule is really eclectic. I mean, he's traveling every day. He's literally doing the rock star thing.
Although he did cancel his Iceland show, which was the first one that was announced. And I was like, I never believed that he was going to go to Iceland.
Yeah. But he is traveling. I mean, he's traveling everywhere. He was in Chicago, and then he went to Portland, then he went to LA. And it's just like, dude, you're channeling the rock star god status right now.
Now that he's in the thick of his tour, I've never seen him more happy, enthusiastic, and just generally into it.
Yeah, I think the warm-up show, as some people are calling it, I think that was, him dipping his toes in the water, seeing what kind of reaction he's getting from the crowd. I noticed between the bootleg theater show and the Orpheum show, his stage presence was much more magnified this time around.
I'm a big fan of the Carpenter dance.
The Carpenter shuffle. Yeah, the first show we were at, he just kind of stood there, hand in his pocket, did his thing. Every once in a while, he'd elicit a little, but this time he was like shimmy and shaking, man. He was just doing a little dance, and it was great. And I noticed that he rearranged his set a little bit. And I think, that's just obviously, I don't know why a musician would rearrange the set. I mean, I'm not a musician, nor would I pretend to be, but, he had rearranged some of the songs. I think Prince of Darkness was
a little further
along.
Yeah. Well,
but it's cool. It's super cool.
You figure out a groove of what you think will play better. And, I mean, the reason we bring it up is not just for the music. Quite frankly, it's such a wonderful celebration of his filmography that if you're just a fan of his, like, it's worth it to see. Yeah. And I think the Lost Theme stuff live is like so much more rockin'.
It's a lot more powerful. I mean, like the Lost Themes as they are now, they're just great. They're great to have on in the background. You turn up the volume, have them on in the background. And a lot of them, I mean, they're just kind of cool. It's good mood music.
Yeah.
The first Lost Themes, I didn't understand what the concept was because, when he let slip at Beyond Fest a couple years back that he was going to do this Lost Themes thing, I had stuck in my head, oh my God, he's digging into the vaults and finding old themes from like Big Trouble in Little China, and I was trying to identify them. And then I'd be like, that's the Big Trouble track. And then he came out and he was like, no, this is just stuff I cooked up that's like all original.
Yeah.
So that kind of recalibrated my thinking on it. But, they're really cool. It's really, I don't know if a lot of them are suited well to movies, but they're great just standalone tracks.
Gaspar Noé might disagree with you.
Yeah,
he's used a lot in Love.
Yeah. But it's all really good stuff. It's really good stuff. And he was, he played the Orpheum crowd. There was a different energy there was at the bootleg show. The bootleg show, had some of the usual suspects in the audience, and Adrienne Barbeau showed up.
Nick Castle,
a couple of filmmakers. Orpheum was like a who's who. It was just like Brad Fuller was there, Neil Marshall was there, the Monster Squad guys were there, like literally together all roll. Yeah. It was amazing. And then the energy in the crowd was just fantastic. We had a few fucking losers in the back that were making a little bit of noise, drinking a little bit too much. And it was just like, shut the hell up. But, for the most part, the crowd was super respectful, so it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely check it out. If he comes near you, go see him. You'll not regret it. Oh, trust me.
And also that merch booth. Insane. I walked in not expecting to buy anything, and he there's so much merch at the table. It was like albums and new t-shirts. There was a Thing t-shirt with a cool design I'd never seen. There was a Great Escape from New York t-shirt.
He knows our weakness.
I know. I was just like, son of a bitch. But yeah, he knows our weakness because the line wrapped through the Orpheum lobby into the reception bar area and doubled back a couple times.
I never made it to the merch booth, and I'm actually kind of glad.
I just want to give a shout out to Brian Collins, who I slipped $20 and he got me a poster. So thank you, Brian.
Well done, Collins. Well done. All right. So what do you got for us? We're going to do a pick of the week. Sure.
Yeah. So usually I like to reach way back sometimes to find more obscure titles. And honestly, I don't think this movie, that I want to talk about gets enough love. It came out during an era that we were seeing, we were well into the Saw sequel business. Hills Have Eyes remake came out. It was like that era, Hostel and Hills Have Eyes and Saw sequels and the torture porn and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then
some mean times.
Yeah. And then crept up this little movie called The Ruins.
Oh yeah.
And The Ruins came out through Paramount. Ben Stiller executive produced it, and it was based on a book by Scott Smith. Yeah, it was directed by Carter Smith. Carter Smith made some waves when he did a short film called Bug Crush. And The Ruins, based on this book, is about a bunch of American tourists and one German tourist, I believe, who make it out to these old ruins where the locals are not too keen on you visiting the ruins once you step onto the property, which is surrounded by earth that has been salted so nothing can grow on it. Once you step onto the property, like, there's no going back. The locals don't want you to come back, and they're willing to go through very lethal methods to make sure you don't return. And there's a good reason, and it's because the local vegetation is lethal. It's a dangerous vine, and basically it's crawling all over this temple ruins. And our leads go there, and they get driven there by the locals because they pissed them off. And they get stuck at the top of this temple. And over the course of a day or so, they just slowly start losing it, and the vine starts creeping up on them. And it's a cool little movie. I mean, I remember reading the book, and I was like, I have no idea how they're going to capture this intensity. And I think that Carter did an okay job with, getting inside the characters' heads. With the book, obviously, you gotta figure out what's worthy of the screen and what's not. You know, what information's important and what's not. For the most part, he captured the relationships pretty well, I thought. He captured the threat level pretty well. And I think that's the only thing that's missing is the sense of surprise. And it might just be because I read the book.
Yeah.
But the sense of surprise and what the payoffs, I should say, are so delicious. These vines, are more than just the kind of vine that's crawling up the lattice on the side of your house. They move on their own at a pretty quick speed. They're able to, mimic certain things. And it just felt, I don't know, it's just a fun, weird, oddball movie. It came out of a pretty important time in horror where the face of horror was changing, like, as you said, it was pretty mean, and things were evolving. We were getting more, human threats. We were seeing a lot more human threats on screen. We had shifted, we were just edging into the supernatural, but it was all about your neighbor next door or the European tourist, or I should say the American tourists getting picked off by Europeans. And so things were different. And then just comes along this little nature run amok movie, on a budget. No less.
Great actors. Sean Ashmore's in it.
Sean Ashmore.
Jenna Malone.
Yeah,
I remember this. Yeah. See, my thing was, I remember I missed it in theaters because somebody had told, I might have even been like Tony Timpone from Fangoria. He's like, you have to read the book before you see the movie because the book is so good. Yeah. And of course, I never got to I own it, but it's one of those many books that I buy like in the pile that I never get to.
Of course.
So I finally I gave in and watched it on video, and I remember really liking it quite a bit, actually. I thought it was super cool, especially considering the context of what was going on.
It was a different movie for a different time, and Joe Anderson's the other actor that's Lynn Ramsey in it too. But it was just something. It was like something a little different. Yeah. And and the gore. Because it came out during a very extreme time for horror cinema. Carter Smith didn't flinch on the gore aspects of it all. Some very bad things happened to people's legs in this movie, and the vines are pretty unrelenting. So there's a significant amount of gore and a significant amount of cringy moments, I remember I was rewatching it with my girlfriend, and she just turned around. She's like, "No, can't deal with that. Can't deal," because there's a lot of filleted flesh.
Yes.
But it's cool. It's a cool little flick. I remember doing some of the press on it way back in the day, and Carter was showing off the kind of temple, that they had as a model. And then like, it was just like a little recreation of the temple. And then I had like the little camp on top with the tents and stuff. And he said it was just really important to be able to give the sense of geography and where the characters were going. And when they stepped down from the temple to talk to, you know, the local villagers and try to get off the temple and stuff, it was just very important to have a sense of geography, obviously. And that's really important storytelling. But you know, it just felt to me like a very expensive studio experiment. You know, I don't think that movie would ever get made today.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't remember it doing well either.
I don't think it did.
I don't think it did
all that well. And it's a mixed bag, you know, in terms of critic reviews. It's on HBO Now or HBO Go right now. And I revisited it on HBO Now. And I was just pleasantly surprised by it. I was just like, this is such a weird little movie.
Yeah.
The ending's not very satisfying, but you know, I think it was a product of a lot of studio notes. But it wasn't as gratifying as the book itself. But don't let that, you know, bog the film down because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what you got? You convinced me. I want to recheck it out because it's been a while and I remember kind of liking it when I saw it. So. And I just looked it up on Amazon. It's not that expensive. You can get the Blu-ray for like $8.
Exactly. Yeah.
So not bad.
But it's one of those movies, you know. I mean, like 20 years down the road, you know, someone's going to go, "Hey, remember when they did Ben Stiller EP'd that weird movie about violence?" Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, anyways, check it out.
20 years is good to every horror movie. Essentially.
I know. That's a different rant. That's a different rant. None of our opinion matters. In 20 years, that's what's going to matter. Where the film lives 20 years from now.
Exactly. Well, Ryan, thanks for dropping in.
Thank you.
Hang in there, guys, because we got the Soska sisters coming on.
I love them.
Yeah, and it's great fun chat. So lots of laughs. Stand by.
Keep the laugh in. I like the twin laugh.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are laughing, and we are here with two ridiculously awesome guests. Ridiculously awesome. He's already on that.
It's all I have. That's literally all I have to talk to Canadians. That's all I've got.
I'd like to welcome Jen and Sylvia Soska. Soska.
That's all of them.
We're saying all of them. If I say it enough, one's going to be right.
Well, that was a proper Hungarian pronunciation.
Well, and there's a reason, because we briefly interviewed you guys for 10 minutes at Texas Friday a year or two ago on the old show.
I remember before, because I did your panel, and I remember before I went onto the panel that they actually had the press person come over, and they were like, "Have you met Jen and Sylvia before?" And I was like, "Yeah, we go way back." And she's like, "I just really want to go over with you the correct pronunciation of their last name." And she was like, Soska, and I'm like, Soska. And she's like, Soska. So when I introduced you guys at Texas, it was like all types of shushing.
Oh, yeah.
It's stuck with Elric.
Becca literally said to us that Sylvia will break you if you fuck up her name. And I was like, So we're like taxi driver practicing in the mirror, just going, Soska, Soska, Soska. So we're fucking Hungarian. That's pretty badass.
My parents are probably crying with pride right now.
I know.
Are they? Cool. That's great. They're listening? That's amazing.
They will be. Oh,
then let's forget that F word we
fast,
just
baby.
Let's dial it back.
Mom, I didn't swear yet.
No, just us. Just the lousy Kiwi and the American people. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Kiwi.
I'm a Kiwi.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
It
about
all makes
that?
sense.
Hey.
They just thought you were weird.
That is
just what you talk
eccentric.
Talks
I like
really,
eccentric.
guys. We don't make fun.
I've been here 8-10 years, so my voice is bad.
It's figuring itself out.
It's
still.
almost Canadian.
Oh, there you go.
I feel like American and New Zealand becomes Canadian.
I always thought New Zealand was the Canada of that area.
It kind of is. I feel
Land
like
Australia is the America.
Yeah, Australia's definitely the America. Yeah, that's without a doubt.
Yeah.
But we always wanted
welcome
you
to America,
be here.
ladies.
Yeah, America.
Thank you.
And you guys are in town filming Elevator Season 2.
Yes, we are. We're really excited for a brand new season. It's a lot more David Fincher than last season. People were, you guys were, before this, we were joking about you guys coming on, but I saw first season, people were losing their mind on this. And then I came in to see the set on Monday, and I was like, oh my God, this was all approved. And it's very mean-spirited. It's very mean-spirited this season.
There's going to be so much crying this season.
I always laugh at scared people, and now I do it as a job, so thank you.
Yeah.
Blumhouse. Yeah, that's job on the
How much
planet.
is it influenced by haunts and things like that? Like each scene that they're doing?
I think the first season was more haunts and haunted attractions, and now it's a lot more cinematic in the sense where it really does feel like you're an interactive kind of horror movie hell, you know? Yeah, you're starring in a horror movie that you don't know the script of.
So did you guys research a lot of the different haunts, and not even like the haunts, the things like the escape rooms, or like we were talking before the show about the McCabe house? Is that what it's called?
McCamey Manor.
McCamey Manor, that's it. Where it's like you pay thousands of dollars and they torture you for a night.
Exactly.
Did you guys research all of these beforehand?
Well, we were in a documentary called Haunters done by John Schitz. Right?
Yeah, I think all of us
were somewhere.
Nice. Yeah.
So that was right after the pilot for Elevator and right when we were starting season 1. And so he was telling me all this stuff. And I know a lot of people who actually work in haunts. So I was getting all the like nitty gritty, but I don't have the balls to do the McCamey Manor, although I was offered to go.
Man, I don't need to pee myself.
I don't need to pee myself and have it filmed. But that's an advertisement. Pee yourself.
When I was doing all the haunt reviews for Fango, I kept getting notes that was like, "Come, go do that." And I was like, "That's really not my bag, guys. I just can't do it. I get it if you like that, but that's not my thing."
We need to get some German guy who'd be like, "Oh yeah, that would be great."
Well, that's interesting.
The director of Necromantic comes in and laughing at them like,
Und wenn so I scheiße myself. Maybe totally into it.
What kind of releases do you guys have people, like how, I know some of these ones now, or some of these trials, or whatever the hell they're even called now, survival rooms, have these, signing waivers of touching and being depreciated in many, many possible ways.
You will be humiliated.
You will be depreciated. I like that on a t-shirt. But what do you guys have to do for your show?
I think
for legal reasons.
Allowed to depreciate our contestants.
Right. So you get to
then
smack
I'm definitely
people.
in.
Oh yeah, well they basically sign their lives away. If you are here, you're saying okay to everything.
Wow. There was stuff they didn't see on camera because we have little henchmen that come around. I think the henchmen are going to be more featured this season, but they have these horrible little masks and they wear like a hoodie and they show up and they say things like, shut up, get in the elevator, shut up, don't talk, shut up.
Wow.
And this is in between. And then people are like, why were they crying? I'm like, yeah, man, because there's 5 guys screaming, shut up. They probably thought they were like in Scared Straight, that prison show where they did
I love that show. Right? I don't want to be in that show, but I love that because it's all so formulaic and exactly the same where every show, the 14-year-old girl's going and they're like, this isn't going to do anything for me, y'all. I don't care. This sucks. You're stupid. Everybody's stupid. And then like 10 minutes later, they're crying. And I'm like, this is kind of...
Well, it's more like the early era of psychology where they did those kind of experiments on people, like Milgram Ash, where they say you're giving a guy electric shocks and you really believe it.
Experimenter recently.
Or Stanford, Experimenter and Stanford Prison Experiment. Very similar.
Experiment.
But then now we have too much ethics, in psychology replaced any fun. Wow. So now we have game shows. And you guys. And people pissing themselves.
They threaten to piss every episode, and I won't let you know which ones actually piss themselves.
Have you actually had somebody pee themselves on set?
I don't I think so because in the labyrinth, he dove into the pool and he was very not wanting to get his hands dirty. And I was like, oh, he's covering a little pee excrement.
That's smart.
Yeah, because I was like, why did he dive into the,
Hope you guys drain the pool.
Were there any, I mean, if you can even say this, but were there any people that you couldn't feature because it's just like, oh, that person did not react well?
They got
anything
too
much that happened off camera?
There is I probably even shouldn't say this, but it never aired.
Whatever.
There was this test team, and for some reason they thought it would be really funny to go on edibles through Elevator.
Oh my gosh!
And so we thought they were reacting to things with normal, coming in 0 fear level, and
but we're from Vancouver. We started picking up that they were baked pretty fast.
There was some moments where they're just walking down the wall, they're hugging, and we're like, no one's there though.
Our Vancouver sense was going off, and there's this part where one of them had to put a hazmat suit on, and she just started freaking out. And they're like, "Oh no, it's too constricting! Don't let."
And we had to stop, and everybody runs in there, and that's
we're just like, "She's baked. She's baked. She's not suffocating. She just high."
And did that air or not?
No, it did not. That was a test team.
Oh, you're sending that to us.
Wow.
I'm so there.
It's somewhere on the raw footage. Oh my god!
I so want to be on the test teams now.
I want you guys to be on the test team. There's no,
I think what? And Turk. Add Turk as well.
Yeah.
I love Ryan.
Turk does it all too.
If anyone's going to piss themselves.
Totally Turek.
That's a challenge, Turk.
He's pretty resilient.
No, I know. He does camp. He does that. He does the camp out and stuff. So he'll probably beast it.
Well, I wanted to ask because we want to go back and talk about the very beginning eventually, and kind of talk about your careers, but the trajectory of your careers. You've been going from film to film. how'd this show happen? Because it seems like, at least the timing of it, like, was this something you were even looking to do? Like the Elevator, show?
No. I remember when the press release came out before they had hosts, and Jen was so pissed off. She's like, man, I wish I was doing that show. So I started posting it. I obviously Blumhouse noticed, because here I am today. No, but I started, as soon as the press release went out, I put it on Facebook. I was like, oh, wow, that seems like a really good idea. I wonder who's going to host. And then I was just fishing for people to be like,
so the show existed first. I didn't know that. Because
first
I heard about it was you guys, and it felt like it was your idea.
Thank you. Came in at the right time. Okay. You can't. Now we're synonymous with Elevator, but no, we tried really, really hard.
I'm bummed I missed when it was Adam Green's Elevator. What a bummer.
Adam Green and Joe Lynch.
Joe Lynch's Elevator.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. Stay out of the Elevator. Actually, those guys should come on Elevator.
Oh, they should come on Elevator.
After us.
I'd watch that.
After us. Let us get this one first.
Well, it was January, and I don't know, in the film industry, January, there's like, will I ever work again? And our people were like, would you ever consider being in front of the camera? Because you guys are kind of funny. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, life kind of dies from November 30th till Sundance.
And I'm glad that you guys said that, because you see it like every single year where by January, my friends are like, I'm going to have to move back to Idaho. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It's all over. I can't pay my mortgage. And then the next month they're like, I'm editing a Marvel show. It's cool. Or I'm doing something for blank. And
by the time summer hits, it's like, I can't stop working. I can't wait till Christmas. And then by February, it's like, I guess I could go back to waiting tables. Yeah, well, remember when Kurt Cobain was on Saturday Night Live, he was living in his van. So, like, you can have success and your life can still be kind of shitty. Yeah.
It's like people who think your life's great from Instagram and they think, oh, wow, that person's doing so good. And you're like, well, I don't post the other photos.
Let me post that photo. Me crying by the toilet. Nobody loves me. Me not understanding how to do my taxes.
Yeah.
Sitting there in the bathtub with the razor blade, like, do I end it tonight? So
they were looking my taxes.
They were looking for like a scream queen, and then they heard that we existed. They're like, oh, lady directors? That would be interesting. But they didn't want two, and they didn't want Canadian. They're like, oh, we'll talk to them anyway. And then I think we talked for like an hour straight, and we just gently forced our way in. And gently. I think when people haven't seen us before, they were like, what is happening? There's just so much to talk about. Oh my. But if you're looking for a horror show, and I think in the first interview they said, you're hired, and then they're like, oh, no, we have to, and then we have to ask 40 other people. Yeah, we flew into New York. We went into LA. We went everywhere just to make sure that we were at the right
so you
fit.
Had to trial.
We had to actually. The scariest one is when we were on a live feed in LA with New York and LA, both there deciding who was going to be it, and we talked for another 2 hours and. Afterwards, they're all like thumbs up. But
did they understand horror? Or like, I mean, I don't know if it was Jason Blum but the actual GSN type people who maybe know nothing about genre stuff. How were they kind of judging?
It's definitely a new path for them. Yeah. Well, the thing is, they're trying to get that younger audience too, right? And that show definitely brought it in things like Idiot Test and Skin Wars. But you have to understand, Family Feud people have been watching it since Family Feud started. So they see the new programming and they see the old programming. So our show gets a lot of angry letters, which is kind of cool. That's free advertising.
But a lot of dads DVRing and writing angry letters and watching it late at night going, oh yeah. Elevator, baby.
Oddly, kids love it.
Oh, really? I believe it. Yeah. I remember, and I don't think it actually happened, but I remember hearing that there was going to be something along these lines, and this is like 10 years ago on MTV. And it never happened. I just remember, and I was at Fango at the time, and they were like, they're doing this like torture-y kind of, it was when Saw was just starting, like a Saw show on MTV, and it never happened. And I was like, actually, they kept describing it as like Double Dare, but with torture devices. Wow. And I was like, that's a kind of cool setup. And then you guys kind of created that, so I like it.
Well, also you had cultivated, like, it seems so natural that because you guys know each other so obviously so well, but your personalities doesn't seem to be something you have to put on this kind of, I don't know how much is a character that you have to put on.
We're unfortunately that exhausting in real life.
Right. Well, I think that's probably what, like, kind of sings through to these people, because it'd be very hard to maintain this. If this was just like an angle to play, you'd get exhausted of it, Well,
you should see us with Red Bull, then it's just all shit hits the fan. can.
Let's do it.
But I think it's hard when you have a character that's not because there are people who have like a character in their real life. Like for example, we worked with a lot of WWE superstars, and Glenn Kane Jacobs, he couldn't be farther from a demon from hell. I mean, like he has his own insurance company, and when he's not wrestling, he's doing Make-A-Wish, he's doing a charity thing. Like,
does he do it as Kane?
No, not as Kane. But the thing is, they're hardcore Kane fans, but his personality is so different. So it's so funny. I remember he was like figuring out his he's figuring out his insurance training while he was dressed in his like See No Evil 2 like horror outfit, and he's just like studying for the test I have for this insurance company. And like, wow, it's just such a juxtaposition. But I think that's kind of why he did corporate Kane, because he wanted something a little bit more who he actually was.
You mean 50 Shades of Kane?
He's so hot. He shows up and he's like, business is on, rips open the shirt.
So Glenn's gonna listen and be embarrassed and we won't be friends
Glenn,
anymore.
you look amazing. So worth not eating bread.
Did you find that with most of the wrestlers, that they had like this personality on camera and then a completely different off?
Usually it's the opposite. Usually they are their character to an extent, except for Goldust. Definitely, except for
Undertaker. Like the guys who actually, Bray Wyatt is the coolest guy.
Oh, he's
in the
so
world. The Wyatt family.
Yeah,
they're
Were you guys
awesome.
young wrestling fans? Because like I mean,
90s.
that's when I was
Attitude
a
Era.
Totally
Brutus the
90s.
Barber beat
Generation
Jack.
X. I was there.
Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
Suck it.
Shawn Michaels was my gateway wrestler.
Yeah.
Undertaker was mine, and actually, See No Evil 2 originally ended with a cameo from The Undertaker.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I was like, I don't even care. I want to meet The Undertaker.
Done.
Oh my
And
God.
I get paid to meet The
And they're
Undertaker.
like,
Cool.
First phone call was 2 things, girls, you hired. Second thing, The Undertaker's out. We're like, oh, did the
Yeah.
first thing have to do with the second thing? No.
Yeah, I watched like my entire way through college. We used to play the game all the time too.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was like my college.
Who did you play as?
I always played as China just because
Yeah.
I liked her because she was
Maybe
so
she
badass.
R.I.P.
So yeah, she was
Bummer.
pretty amazing. But
Jake the Snake
and then
Roberts,
in the
man.
later
Jake the
version,
Snake.
I played as Lita pretty regularly.
Lita was cray. I
Yeah.
loved her.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
So that's wrestling.
Well, yeah, I mean, I we'll get back. We'll get to that. We'll come back to the wrestling because I feel like that's a little later. But we like to, well, as Rob said earlier, we like to start at the start. Like, when did you guys get bit by the horror bug, and how did it emerge? Was it through seeing old films? And also, you guys are unlike anyone we've talked to before because you guys, I assume, experience, especially when you're young, things at the same time. Whether it's exposure to like new movies and horror films.
Oh, yeah.
So how did that all begin with you guys, and where are you from in Canada?
We're from North Vancouver, Canada. We share a time zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not everyone in America knows. We're just like straight up. It actually takes 2 hours to 2.5 hours to fly there.
And
Better
you play
than your
LA in the
traffic.
movies, mostly, more than
Yeah.
LA does. So,
Not anymore. We lost the
No,
tax
that's true, that's
credits.
true.
Thanks, Christy Clark.
yeah.
But I blame my mom. My mom is a horror girl, and she loved Stephen King and Anne Rice, and she had all of the novels. And she tricked us into reading at a young age. She said, if you read the books, you can watch the movies. And I got so addicted to the books. I think I watched one movie later and said, it's shittier than the book.
At Cemetery, you were disappointed.
Yeah. But our first
Mary
one,
Aaron.
Exact.
our first one was Poltergeist.
Mary Lambert.
Oh, Mary
Lambert.
Lambert, yeah.
Sacrilege.
Wow, you're legit. Look at that.
Fake geek
We
guy.
got the
Fake
win.
geek
I
guy.
got destroyed.
There's like 6 women in horror films.
And I named
there
one
were
of the
up till
two
a couple of
Marys.
years ago. We know them all.
I've met her too. That's even sadder.
No, but she was a kid. She didn't understand the book wouldn't be the same. She thought it'd be like a 6 hour, the exact same thing. So it's surprising. I even remember before that. And remember video stores?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the
We talk
horror-
about
We
it all
talk
the
about them
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, we're of
Oh,
that
they were
generation.
such an important part of all of our childhoods,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and we were addicted to the horror section. So even before we were allowed to watch them, we would always be there, and we weren't allowed to rent the movie. So we'd look at the pictures, and we'd be like, "Oh, this guy has sharp teeth, and this guy has no face. So, Mom, this guy eats faces. Can we watch it? No."
Do you
That's
remember
how we
any
watched
covers?
every House movie.
Oh, House was
Oh, yeah.
Ding Dong, You're Dead.
Ding Dong is the scariest movie of all time, apparently. Do you remember other covers that like totally got to you guys that you were thinking about, but maybe couldn't rent?
I remember the Hellraiser one.
Hellraiser.
Was it the hands just holding the box?
It was
standing.
his face on it too. 'Cause it said time to lay down at the bottom. It
And
was
all the
like
kind of
him in his
bondage
perfect little
symbols.
portrait.
I don't think that had any influence on you guys, American Mary.
At all.
We saw that young.
We saw that when we were 12.
Let me touch you, damn it. I didn't know what was happening. I was like,
yeah.
And that was, my mom always had a rule that if you were old enough to ask, she was old enough to explain. And then I remember Hellraiser was, skipped that rule. Because I remember I was like, what was happening? Because weren't they related? She's like, don't worry about that.
Come to daddy. Come to daddy.
I thought that was her uncle.
No, that's a conversation in a few years.
Hey, it's Uncle Frank. It's just Frank.
It's just flowers in the attic. Here, just read this book first.
I remember seeing that way too young and like, why is he giving her a bath? I thought it's weird. But
So your mom seemed like, the person that you would introduce you to these kind of films and stuff like that. Were there any that stuck out? I mean, was horror the thing that you guys kind of related to the most, or did you just love all movies at that point?
I think all movies, but I think we didn't realize they were horror movies because if people didn't die, we really didn't like the movies. It was a big thing, blood and guts and action.
I don't understand the difference between a horror movie and a regular movie. You know that Bill Murray movie, Scrooged?
Yeah.
That was my Christmas movie all the time.
oh, it's still it's ours.
Oh, it's perfect.
Family
So
Christmas
good.
movie.
Yeah, I love that movie.
And I brought it in at grade 2. We were all allowed to bring like our favorite Christmas movie, and they're like, we won't play this. And I was like, well, it's the Scrooge story. And they're like, but it's scary because there's ghosts. I'm like, well, the Scrooge story always has ghosts in it. I don't
The
understand.
effects
that.
were too good.
Who did the effects in Scrooged?
Oh crap! I know this.
5
actually.
seconds, guys.
no.
I will solve this for you.
Those were some beautiful effects, like
Yeah,
the
they
ghost
were.
of
Well, I'm drawing a
Christmas
blank.
Future.
The
But I
little
could-
things throwing berries out from his chest. I remember that. Or they made
But
his
I can't
Christmas
tell you,
ornament.
great Danny Elfman theme. And that was kind of like, when I was getting into Danny Elfman's music, that's the guy that does all the Tim Burton stuff. And
I'm looking it
that's
up.
great. I love
Did you
it.
guys see any films like in a taboo way where you weren't meant to see it?
Right.
Because that's different from most of us. Well, actually,
when
no,
you sneak a
Well, her
movie.
mother also let her watch stuff.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
our
yeah.
case, we
I
probably were
wanted
watching
it.
things somewhat
we
backdoor
were-
legally.
We were renting, like I always told the story that I had like a dude with a mohawk that ran
Yeah.
the mom and pop shop walking distance and would just let me rent anything.
Really?
So-
Regardless of age?
He's like, have fun, dude, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was, the funniest thing ever is like,
Yeah.
cause my parents are a lot older and they're like old school Italian. They're not paying attention to anything I was doing. The funniest thing is like, I'm 25 at this point and I'm watching a Friday the 13th movie and my mom walks into the room during one of the scenes. It's like, they also had Sixth Sense, like moms would walk in during a sex scene, like,
Yes,
fail.
Yeah.
Like, what are you watching? And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh god. She came in the middle of Friday the 13th 5, which is mostly all sex anyway, and was like, I don't think you should be watching this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you are way too fucking late.
Yeah.
You're about 10 years
Yeah,
late.
yeah, past things. But because that's often like when you're a kid, you see a taboo image, and it's what actually kind of infects your brain because you get addicted to that feeling. Was there anything like that you saw, or were you guys just totally? It was cool.
Really, what fucked you up? Before? That's what he's asking. Like, was like, whoa,
What fucked your shit?
maybe we shouldn't have seen that.
Our first one was Poltergeist, and I didn't realize until later there's the scene where the guy rips his face
Yeah.
off.
Definitely
Yeah,
a Toby
that-
Hooper scene, I'm sure.
That was like a child moment that I blocked that out. I remember seeing that
frustrated.
older and being like, what the hell was that in that movie? I don't remember. And I was like, then I remembered it once I saw it.
Yeah.
Because I always remember what are those repressed memories?
You remembered all the Spielberg stuff, but the Tobe Hooper, the really fucked up shit, you're like, Spielberg did not direct that. I'm sorry, he never directed the guy peeling his face off. Never.
I know we weren't allowed to see Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Oh, wow.
and then
Oh,
we
wow.
went and saw
That
it,
was not that
and
bad.
so we ran and snuck
Yeah.
it right away. And I remember watching, and I was like, okay, there's some titties.
We weren't
Okay,
allowed
there's
to watch
some-
because
there's
of the
some
titties.
blood.
A little bestiality.
Oh,
That's-
and
yeah.
I didn't get it. Like, I was like, ooh, because I snuck Hellraiser, and
Yeah.
I understood why I snuck Hellraiser. I was
Why are
like,
you
okay.
acting so hardcore? It scared me.
Hellraiser?
No, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Really?
I thought Gary Oldman was going to get me.
Scared you,
We had to.
bitch.
You ran with me.
Out of support.
Teenagers. Oh yeah.
What's that
support.
wolf?
Jen
Werewolf?
was from the hardcore side of the womb, y'all.
Yeah. Who was
Really?
who was first? Who was first?
OG. Guess. Guess.
Oh,
Now it's too late.
well, now it's too late.
I was by 19.
I'm gonna guess
minutes.
her.
But we were delivered by two different doctors because I almost killed Jen in the womb.
Did Jeremy Irons play both of them?
I wish.
Because that would be the greatest story ever, and it would totally connect the rest of this interview.
Wow, that was such a good joke. I want to get you another beer.
I deserve that.
Let that be like folklore from now on.
From now on,
We
yeah.
started that
Yeah.
We did it.
Split screen, Irons did it.
That would be amazing.
That is
Dead Ringers.
amazing. Back before when they couldn't actually do some of the effects you can do with two people now,
yeah.
and being twins. Like, did you ever see a film about twins that actually felt like they nailed it? Like,
See, I saw Dead Ringers late, and I came in with like it's Jeremy Irons and Jeremy.
It was
Yeah.
the Parent Trap, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I saw that thing.
Yeah,
and,
Lindsay Lohan's great in that.
Harry Mills, go back.
Oh, there's another one?
But I remember right away watching Dead Ringers thinking,
Yeah.
Mr. Cronenberg must know identical twins because there's so much weird shit that twins do. Like there's
The
no
idiosyncrasies that he
Yeah.
got, the weird mannerisms.
the
he
blatant
really got it.
honesty that twins have with each other. Because
Yeah.
when one twin wouldn't say what that chick was like in bed, he's like, "Well, I've already fucked her, so I don't know what you're keeping."
Yeah, Jen
from
always
me."
gives me a hard time if I don't tell her about my dates. No, I'm kidding.
No, over coffee, I will give you the total breakdown and then be like, "Yeah, and I said I had to work early." And
Yeah,
go.
I'm your roommate, I know.
Or any of that, when you guys have been apart, I don't know how long you're apart, but have you ever... 19
minutes, we just said.
19 minutes. But have you ever sensed any of the things that twins do talk about, like knowing somebody is emotionally in trouble or...
Are you psychic is what he's asking.
I'm trying to ask, are you
He's
psychic?
skirting a lot.
Well, what's the longest period you two have been separated?
Oh, wow. Probably like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks when my grandparents' apartment building burned down and my grandma moved in with my parents and I came in to help. So we were 2 weeks, and still had to keep working, and that was while she was writing American Mary too.
Yeah.
So she would write American Mary and then send it over to me, and then I'd make notes and send it back over to her.
You know, not wanting to be alone with your thoughts is a great motivator, and you write some weird shit.
Yeah.
Man. It's like you don't even realize you're thinking about it because you're like, I'm just working. And then you look at back and you're like, whoa, man, I had a lot of stuff I was working through.
But yeah, when we're apart, we can sense how the other one's feeling. I can get a feeling of dread, and I'll have to call Sylv, and usually something will have happened.
My favorite story is Jen went to a cardio class, and this is back when we were kickboxers. I was like, I'm going to keep watching Maury. And she's like, I'm going to go to the gym. I was like,
Sylv is better off. Better plan.
And then I was sitting there, and I started sweating and breathing really hard while she had her cardio class. And
Was it a good episode?
It was just paternity test. I missed the makeover. I missed the makeovers.
I think Maury's a workout. It is. I think we just proved that you just
Who's it gonna be? And then she
That's
comes
pretty good.
back. I was like, damn it, Jen. But I think the weirdest thing is we dream the same place that doesn't exist.
2 places.
Wow.
The place at the end of the beyond? Because that's fucking rad.
Walking that with the bodies laying there.
I've been waiting to meet you guys my whole life. I want to ask what happens right after that moment. Like, just tell me. So cool. Did I get my geek card back for that or not?
I guess.
You get it.
Thank you.
One is a forest. And one is like a Silent Hill Jacob's Ladder version of our childhood home.
Wow.
And I remember we once had because the house one was easy enough to figure out, but we were describing one because I am such a Freudian. I'll wake up and I'll be like, did you dream about anything last night? Well, that means you have unresolved issues with your father.
Yeah.
You should call him.
And I'm like, that's cool. That's the dream. So what do you want to have for breakfast?
No, and we were describing this place, and we were like down the ridge and the river, and because I was running from zombies once, and she's like down that cliff where the river was. We discovered it was the same place as we started.
And there was like, logs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very exact. It was weird. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Have you guys ever like investigated other twins, or have you been friends with other twins?
Dude, we tracked down
You're into
other
it?
twins. I love
Yeah.
other twins because it's like these know the world from a different kind of perspective.
Yeah.
You know? Because
when you see another pair of twins, you twinterview them. Who's older? Then I'll speak to the younger, and she'll speak to the elder.
to the elder one.
They got stuff to get off their, chests.
Yeah. There's the Enton twins. Enton twins. I don't know if you know those guys.
Seconds
They're-
apart?
Seconds apart. They write, direct.
Oh, wait, I think I
produce.
know
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we met them through a friend, Sean, who works also on Elevator, and it's because they do the same job and they're twins, it was like the perfect storm. I was like, oh my god, you have the same weird stories, plus
Yeah.
it's your brother, plus it's your twin, plus you do the same thing.
Was there another movie,
Which,
Twin Idaho
when
Falls?
we
as
ran
well?
into them at Blumhouse for the longest time, I thought that it was one guy and he worked multiple jobs in both buildings.
No, you didn't.
he works with us. And we ran into him, and he was on the upper level in our building, and then
I block all this stuff out.
And he was in the other building.
I got work to do.
And he was in the kitchen, and I was like, oh, you just changed your shirt, and you were up there
the
doing...
twins. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, all right. No, because the way, when we do report into Blumhouse, there's 2 buildings.
Yeah.
And there's one guy that works on production, on pre-production in our building, and apparently he has a twin brother that works in the other building. No. So for a while, I would always say hi to both. And then I was like, hey man, how's it going? I thought you were over. And he's like, no, that was my brother. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
I felt like such an asshole. And he's like, no, everyone does it. And it's weird because I work at this building, he works at the other. So next time you guys are there, I'll point it out to you. Be like, there, he's got a twin brother.
We're going to go bother those guys.
It's crazy because you'd see one in one building dressed one way having coffee, and then you'd walk over and he'd be at a desk in the different building, and you're like, but what? My whole universe is collapsed because of this, man.
No, it's good. It's good luck to have at least one twin always around.
Yeah. There's a super cute documentary on, I think it's on Netflix called
when I was talking about the creamer?
Twinsters.
But
is that good?
It's really good.
It's really interesting. As a layman, I thought it was fascinating. I don't usually watch things like that, but it totally.
I know, and that's it. I love documentaries, and I just I'm gonna give it a whirl.
I think you guys would appreciate it because
they it's and she's actually an actress. The main one who made the doc is an LA actress, little tiny Korean girl, and. I guess she was sort of sensitive, but she didn't know she had a twin.
She was adopted to an American family.
So it's about her finding out that in Korea, she actually has a twin sister. And
she's in a clip on YouTube, and a guy from Paris, France, sees her and thinks to himself, you look just like my friend in France, and contacts her and says, you look exactly like my friend who's like an art student.
Like through Facebook,
a fashion designer. Wow. And then the girl looks at her and goes, oh my God, that is me.
Oh.
And they're 20
and
like
they
years old.
Wow. They're like, wait a minute, I think this is
and
my
they spend
sister.
like a whole year or so just talking on
back
Skype, and they're still not sure if they're related.
Wow.
They can kind of tell they're related, and it's kind of obvious, and then they go back and trace the records of Korea, and they go all the way back to South Korea. And I just thought it was super cute.
Sweet. It's a really sweet
but it makes you also realize there is something, because there are so many similarities in the way they laughed, just like you guys were laughing, that was where it connected. They're different personalities, definitely different people, but man, when they
it's fun when their adoptive parents met the other one.
Yeah.
That is like the sweetest thing ever. They walk in and like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because they obviously raised this one sister, and and they just can tell right away.
And then the one stabs the other, and that's why it's a horror film. It's a horror podcast.
Not at all. Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. Director attached yet?
It's all yours, girl.
I'll do it.
Take it to town.
So, let's go back to the beginning. So, obviously, you guys got into horror movies. Your mom was very supportive of reading and getting into this kind of material. But how early on was the idea of filmmaking? I mean, were you always kind of doing creative stuff in general?
Well, we were very artistic, but the kind of shitty thing is young girls don't get encouraged to be directors, writers, or producers at all. Right now, if you're a young girl aspiring to work in film, great time, because there's so many girls that are behind the camera as well as in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. And I always love storytelling, both of us, and we love video games and comic books and movies and TV. But to be part of it, I was told, you have to be an actress, and to be an actress, you have to play twin roles, and
also
that
the Olsen twins were popular at the time, so they didn't even care. They're like, you guys are twins, so you're going to be actresses, which was cool. But I thought that was the only way I could work on movies. But I remember watching Robert Rodriguez movies over and over and over and over and over again, and I didn't realize I wanted to be Elle, but I didn't realize I wanted to make that story until much, much later, and we kind of walked ass backwards into it. We were at this horrible film school that ripped us off so much money, and then thank God Grindhouse was in the theaters at the time, and Jen saw Dead Hobo with a Shotgun, and she goes, Dead Hooker in a Trunk. I'm like, what's that? And she's like, let's make a fuck you faux trailer. And the school had a list of everything that's too inappropriate, but we put, bestiality and necrophilia on just to make sure they would hate it.
Just to get everything. Yeah.
And then we played that, and then we turned it into a feature, and it was like we had all these weird skills that never made sense. Like, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, it was almost like coming home.
Yeah, it felt like coming home. Like, all these things, like, we worked in just promotions for twins, so we're good at the talking. Really good.
Yeah, we used to be professional.
There you go.
There
you go.
Car companies would hire us to, because you probably imagine identical twins smiling next to a car, and then dudes line up, and they're like,
we're also very artistic. Our dad's a painter, so we were always drawing. We were never allowed to, trace. He'd take it and rip it up if it was traced.
Oh, yeah, no, he was
That was hardcore. It's like, even your shitty drawing is better than something traced.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, if you do something shitty in my house, my dad would come back with a how-to draw book, and he'd be like, did you maybe need this?
No, but that's why
Did your dad come up with a boycott horror movie remakes T-shirt that you're wearing? Because I'm assuming that's tied to your father. He's like, fuck remakes.
Normally I hate remakes because it's so senseless a lot of the time. It's like you're taking something you love and not necessarily anyone who loved the original is doing it. So
I'll be real, most are shitty. Like, most are shitty. There's way more shitty remakes than great remakes.
Well, what about The Fog?
Get out!
Sorry.
Elric, Matt Curry Holmes
I know.
is in it.
Our Canadian friend does appear in that and die.
Matt Curry Holmes
spoiler.
is awesome.
he is awesome, and I want to see his new movie. Has
know.
anyone seen it yet?
He plays the dad.
I've seen the rough
Fog.
cut. I haven't seen the finished film.
The remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll get to remakes. We'll hold the phone on that. But I like the connection to your dad, though. That's fun. Well, with that film, you also end up casting Elle in your movie, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, Carlos Gallardo actually heard what we were doing, and we read Rebel Without a Crew, and we're like, we're going to make a movie, but we literally had no idea what went into making a movie.
Yeah.
So we were running from cops with our cameras, which you can do in Canada. We dug in a national forest, but the rangers let people walk around us, and then
Cool.
Helps when you got a tank top and a push-up bra.
Yeah.
Anytime there was a problem, it was like, still take your coat off,
they
still
would just
take your
send
coat
me
off.
over, and I'm like, I'm a film school dude, and they're like, really? Cool.
The best excuse in the world is David, our teacher from film school, said it was okay.
Yeah, we were more specific. We said Cap College.
Cap College.
You
Well,
guys
you gotta
shot
be
in
your
national forest? Do you know what that would get you here? Oh my god. Like, if you try to shoot in a national area here in LA, they will have people all over you.
I tried to shoot in Santa Monica once. I had 4 guys chase me off the beach.
You got a permit?
You have to drive a good 45 minutes out of LA in any direction.
Yeah, the first thing I shot here, we shot in Runyon Canyon, and I had permits, but I was shocked by how, and it interrupted production. Like, every 5 minutes, people would come over and be like, you got a permit right here, you got a permit right here. Do you guys talk to each other? Because we're shooting here.
It's
but
why nobody shoots
I
here.
was shocked.
That's true.
That is crazy.
That happened to me when I was just doing an interview in like a park. Like, I was just doing a very casual for a documentary thing, and somebody like stopped me, and I was like, dude, I'm just talking. I was like, just pretend I'm talking to a friend in the park, which is what I'm doing. We'll be out of here in 5 minutes.
Heartless. Guerrilla filmmaking is alive and well in Canada. Alive and well.
Who were a lot of the people in your crew? I mean, were people that you met at film school or like friends and stuff like that? So how did you get this first movie together?
Oh, wait. Let me finish with Carlos.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Carlos, he said he would do it, but we had to promise not to pay him. And that was the end of the story.
Oh,
we drove
wow.
to LA.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah, because he said that that's the spirit of El Mariachi.
Aw.
He's so sweet. He's been so supportive.
Yeah, but we found people from the film school, other stunt guys, people that are just available.
There's also the writer's strike down in LA, so if there's no work in LA, there's no work in Vancouver.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were like, let's do something rather than nothing.
And then we had like guest stunt coordinators come on too, like Laura Chartrand, who was the teacher at that shitty school we went to. They outsourced a program. He had nothing to do with
That
it.
program was great.
But he did he did this 37 beat dead hooker fight, the fight where she gets beaten to death, and it was amazing. It was like, I remember as soon as we came in, we were like, "Can you set us on fire?" And he just stared at us like, "What the fuck are these 2 girls going to be about?"
Just say yes.
And then I remember we did a full body burn on dead hooker, and he just looks at us like, you guys just came in to it was like Elle Woods. It's like, did she wake up one day and just say, I'm going to be a lawyer? I was like, one day I'm just going to make cool movies, and I just did it.
As soon as I knew I could be a horror director, it's like, yep, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, but we had so many,
Doing Dead Hooker made me realize that acting, I always will love acting, and it's a great way as a director to be able to communicate with actors, but I love storytelling, and I love being in control of the material we're doing, and writing the roles, especially for actresses, because I chased so many roles that I didn't want to do.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of opportunities that you don't get out there, and it's kind of cool. Like we have this story where the cast is all 65 plus women, and we keep pitching it, and people are like, okay, so where's the young sexy friend? I'm like, no, man, this is about these badass chicks that come out of prison, and they're like, yeah, but where's the set? I'm like, one can have a kid, but it's going to be strange, and you ain't seen him. Because there's all these really talented actresses that are...
Sybil Danning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Heat baby. That's it.
Could you imagine,
And these A-list women that have no roles written for them, let alone badass roles.
Could you imagine, like, a whole group? Because, like...
Any excuse to work with Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, dude!
Any excuse. Sigourney, I know you're listening. I love you so much.
Yeah, and we
She
fans.
totally
She's a big
listens
fan.
to our show.
I know she does.
She has a Shockwaves tattoo on her arm, actually. So We know.
Yes, Queen.
But that's funny. It's like those kind of concepts I tend to find in foreign films. Like, you know, I'm a huge fan of Korean cinema at the moment.
Me too.
And you saying that, there's a great Korean movie. It never came out here. I have an import of it called, it's got like 8 titles, but it's called Twilight Gangsters. And it's about 3 little old lady that decide they're going to rob a bank because they can't get money any other way.
That's amazing.
And it's really like a fucking like, it's
I need to
funny,
borrow that.
it's action packed, and it's like poignant. It's really good. But I look at it and I'm like, no one would ever make this as an American movie. Like, there's no way where it's 3, like, you know, older women.
Oh,
No,
no,
not
it's
a chance.
impossible.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the reason why we're doing comic books first. So we have the IP, and then we show there's an audience, and then you do it, because it's so hard. Because our scripts are so weird. Even like with any of them, people are like, "I like it. Do you have anything normal in you?" And I'm like, "This was my worst normal."
See, but then comic books, it's like everyone's just trying to buy every comic book property. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like
so
the end is like, well, let's do it as a comic first and sell it to Hollywood. So
well,
smart.
This one's gonna be called Old Bags. Yeah, old bag. Well, you know, it's their
Yeah.
old tricks, and everybody calls older women old bags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So okay, so tell us about the challenge from going from Dead Hooker in Her Trunk to American Mary, because Dead Hooker did the festival run and, you know,
Yeah, it was
kind
very
of
grassroots.
got a lot of attention. But like, what's the harsh reality from that? Like, was it difficult to get the next movie going? You know, because it seems like almost every movie's a fight, you know?
Yeah.
So what did you learn after the first movie to get to the second movie?
Oh my gosh, I feel I learned what happened and how you physically made a movie. I did not learn anything of the business side. It was such a, to a certain degree, it was a shit show, because after we wrapped, it was just Jennifer and me and my ex-boyfriend for a while, and that was just the 3 of us putting everything together until the movie was out. And then American Mary, nobody wanted it. And
The funny thing is, Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew is the book that ended with, don't talk about making movies, go make one,
Right.
and I'll bring the popcorn. And that motivated me to make a movie. Nobody writes books about, or maybe I bet fucking
there-
Lloyd Kaufman has one. What to do after you make your movie? Because Rebel Without a Crew led me to believe that Bob and Harvey Weinstein would just show up and be like,
watch it and be
"Girls,
like,
here
great."
you go."
I'm still
That's
waiting,
it.
Harvey. What's
Give
up?
me
There's
like
got to be Lloyd Kaufman, How to Sell Your Damn Movie. I bet
how
he
to
did.
sell your
There
damn
is
movie.
one. I bet there
He
is
probably
one.
is.
Absolutely. How to Your Damn Movie series is fucking
Yeah,
brilliant
yeah.
by Lloyd.
So we pitched American Mary for about 2 years, and nobody.
That script was already done by the time you were kind of touring Dead Hooker?
It was not done. I was wondering what I was going to do, and when it was done, we had sent it to everybody who was involved with Grindhouse, just to be like, "Hey, you made this, and we made this. Thank you so much." And one of those people was Eli Roth, and Eli he says, "Send me the movie," and then afterwards, when I was griping about not being able to sell it, he was like, "You know what? Just focus on your next movie." And he's like, "Send me a script," and I was like, "Oh." I had no scripts. I was like, oh, well, I have so many scripts. You should pick which one it is. I have this monster one and this one about this medical student that does body modification. He's like, body modification one, totally.
Oh, nice.
And so Jen and I told him if there's any mistakes, spelling mistakes, I'd be super embarrassed. So I told Jen after I was done talking to him that we have 2 weeks to write a script about body modification.
Wow. Under pressure.
Yeah. It was tough after Dead Hooker in a Trunk because it's a grindhouse do-it-yourself film, which was the whole heart of the film itself. And then after people saw that, instead of being like, you made that for $2,500, they said, oh, you can't make a real movie. Spoiler alert, it's not more difficult to make a movie with more money.
Yeah.
No.
I wouldn't, I mean,
Biggest misnomer in the industry, right?
oh, when you get
Totally.
into Guardians from the Galaxy, I don't think James was saying, oh, I wish I had $6 million again.
Yeah.
Nobody would say
It
that.
just gets better. But with they said that Dead Hooker in a Trunk is all you can do, girls. You're just crass and rude and vulgar, which is true. We are those things as well.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do something really, really polished with American Mary, and it was very inspired by Eastern European and
Asian
cinema.
cinema. We wanted it to be visually spectacular to look at. And my parents heard me pitch for 2 years, and then I think it was like the late 20s birthday, my dad said they were remortgaging the house and they're going to be the first investors into the
Oh, that's
film.
cool.
Wow.
Talk about pressure. But yeah, it was a great experience. We had next to no money to do it, and everybody who came on really liked the story. I mean, we had a suspension right before, so people were really getting into the kind of body mod community, because there's this kind of stigma against it. People don't really know what it is. There's this freak show aspect, and once you realize that everybody's just human, it was a really cool set to be on.
Now, does Catherine Isabel just did she sell her soul to the devil and not age? Because she looks amazing.
The same
still.
Snaps.
And Hannibal, yeah.
Like I just watched Ginger Snaps. I just revisited Ginger Snaps. I hadn't seen it in years.
Yeah, what did you guys think of Ginger Snaps as well?
Exactly the same.
Oh,
Big fans.
You had seen it before, obviously. Catherine,
We were mercilessly teased in high school because we were the weird girls who liked wrestling and video games and horror movies. And they started calling us the Fitzgerald sisters. And I was like, oh no, what are they calling us? So we rented it and watched it, and I think at the title sequence, we're like, oh, that's so cool.
Nice. Compliment.
She's so good in that film.
She's wonderful.
Really
both of those girls are.
She's fantastic, but I always watched her career after Ginger Snaps, and I got so frustrated. I was like, she's so good at anything she does, but she's so beautiful, so a lot of the time people they get so distracted with the appearance of a person, they don't realize the talent as well, and I saw that Katie kind of went up against that, so everything in American Mary, I was like, I bet she would fucking slay at this. And the only thing I didn't realize is how funny she was. So when we teamed up again and See No Evil 2, because everyone was dying laughing. Like, she'd do some murder thing, and at the end of the scene, she'd say something, and everyone would be like,
Adorably homicidal.
Yeah.
Aw. Cinnamon roll covered in blood.
Now, what about, it's funny because you were both making movies at a time period where the business has changed so much.
Yeah.
So between like Dead Hooker and then American Mary and then beyond that, like what did you kind of learn and adjust to? Because, a lot of back in the day, you'd be able to pre-sell your movie foreign because, based on the poster and the concept and all that stuff. So how did you kind of adapt to the changes in the business? Because obviously you've, sustained through it.
I'm very lucky that I have good relationships with everyone, and as you know, people, you don't know who's going to be where. And I've always been kind. I've always been nice. My grandfather taught me that if you're kind to people, the whole world opens up to you. And even people used to say shitty things to me, be like, "Oh, thank you so much," just taking it on the chin, and then eventually, you never know. Like I remember Mike, who is now working for Universal, felt bad when he was at the Cannes market wanting to buy Mary, because on his site they had written a very mean review about Dead Hooker to Trunk. But the thing, it wasn't even the worst one. So I was like, "Oh, don't be bad. That you just gave me 2.5 out of 5. That's nothing. I've gotten 0 stars. I've gotten 0. Don't even worry." Yeah, and they were like, "But I didn't know you could make a movie like this." I'm like, yeah, well, at that point, I didn't know I could either. Yeah. But we surrounded ourselves with an amazing, like Brian Pearson, our DP on American Mary. He did Drive Angry 3D and My Bloody Valentine 3D, and Kissed as well. And he has such a cinematic eye. And then Todd Masters, who has been our friend ever since American Mary, like without his medical horror and his prosthetics, it wouldn't have been the same movie. And his team they're always there. Like, we didn't have enough money for the whole team, and they would always be there making sure everything worked out awesome.
What was the influence of, being Canadian? We have to ask about body horror, because it's, body horror, modification, rape, revenge. There's a couple of the because even in Canucksploitation type stuff, there's some of the early rape, revenge, I Spit in Your Grave type movies. Yeah. This is a much classier version of that. But with body horror and something like Cronenberg's Shadow over Canadian cinema, I guess, how familiar with his films were you when you set out to make it?
And Jennifer and I have been Cronenberg fans for a very, very long time.
Well, before we saw Dead Ringers, that could have been it for us.
I remember.
Do you remember the first one?
The Fly. The Fly. I was a prosthetic, horror. I would be like, oh, look at that one. I'm the one that watches Human Centipede. I'm like, is that edge lifting? Are they really?
She's watching a Serbian film, and she's like, that's how the baby would react. No, sure, whatever.
No, I don't. No, I'm terrible. But The Fly, and we've rewatched every Cronenberg film again, just because, Rabid. We want to put not just one film influence, but every film of his collectively influenced in there. Still fucking grosses me out. The whole Jeff Goldblum Brundle Fly transformation.
just talked
It's
about
great.
it for
Yeah, it was our
last
last show. I think it's his masterpiece by far. I mean, I like a lot of his films,
favorite.
but
Yeah.
we were saying like just within the first like 30 seconds, you're like, this is a great movie. Like you could just tell.
Yeah.
There's something about the energy of that movie.
We our last show, which we did last night, here with Mick Garris and William Malone, we were talking, but they told us that there was a film that was being shopped around at the time afterwards called Flies, and it was going to be she was going to come back, and it was going to be like Aliens was the Alien. Instead, it never got done, I guess, because after Fly 2, but it sounded pretty cool. We all got kind of excited about that.
Flies.
That is a damn shame.
But The Fly is one of the most incredible because also the love story is so strong.
Yeah.
But what of his other stuff did you guys react to, like Videodrome, or what were
Videodrome is harsh,
Yeah,
man. Could you
it's one of the harder
imagine them
movies.
remaking it now with who's that High School Musical pretty boy?
Zac Efron?
Zac Efron. Could you imagine Zac Efron with like a vagina on his stomach and then
Zac Efron is a great
Seth
actor.
Rogen could
there's
direct it.
Well, now you're selling me.
Neighbors 3,
like
baby.
an Apple
Like what would be the equivalent now? Like USB ports. or
USB
things
ports,
like that?
definitely.
Yeah.
But he already did that himself a little bit with
Extends.
Extends.
That
Because
extends.
they're plugging directly into their. Yeah.
But on the USB port, there's this thing going on that I've been completely like following, where you have dead drops, and it's things like I will create a game and I will say, okay, well, level 3, I'm going to dead drop, where I chisel out a chunk of wall on a subway and concrete around it and put my USB port. So you have to go find this USB port and dead drop back into
Wow,
it to
that's
download.
so
and I'm like,
hardcore.
why is this not in something? It's such a cool
The
thing.
next thing will be the seashells, the Demolition Man.
3 seashells.
3 seashells from Demolition Man. That is the future.
I saw like a chart somewhere online explaining how the 3.
Yeah, the third one is just
I
throw
don't
all
wanna
the
know.
seashells
I don't
away.
want to know.
Yeah, I don't want to know how they
It
went
was
there,
like
but-
Just felt dirty.
There was a lot of scooping involved, and it was not clean looking. And then
Did you meet and and we'll get to obviously what you guys are doing now because that's exciting. But before that, were there any interactions with Cronenberg or like in Canada? How is he viewed in Canada? Like because
He's
here-
our god. He's
okay,
our king.
He's literally
he-
king of Canada.
He is our king. He's
so not like Vincenzo
king.
Natali or any of the other.
I love Vincenzo.
But he's a prince.
Vincenzo's a bishop.
He's a bishop.
Canada.
He's a bishop. It's like a chessboard.
Is he like a
really.
Salem's Lot bishop, like masturbating? No, what was it?
Whatever he
Rob
wants
Zombie
to
one,
be.
masturbating in the. But like so in Canada, he is considered like the David Lynch or
Oh, absolutely. And he's had such an incredible career.
Yeah.
I mean, even by his own admission, how he's figuring out his art from film to film. I mean, look at Shivers and then look at Eastern Promises. There aren't very many directors that can reinvent themselves so much and stay not only relevant, but on top of their game.
But I think his main theme is always transhumanism. It's always about transformation, whether it's an emotional or a physical transformation. I think it's more emotional in the later ones.
Yeah, History of Violence and Easter Promises definitely has that because it's people
definitely.
hiding themselves behind. They're both undercover basically. It's interesting. The last one, not the last one, but the one before that definitely threw me, and I kind of want to rewatch it.
Cosmopolis?
Yeah, it was so wordy that I wasn't expecting it from him.
Oh, sure.
It kind of threw me. So
I think you need to read the book. I think
Yeah,
that's a
people
book
have said they love
run.
it.
Yeah.
yeah. Now, did you ever get to meet him in that early period, or is it now all happening now?
Sadly, no. We were invited to go meet him during the Canadian premiere of American Mary, but we had to stay for the screening, and it was like, oh shit, I've seen it.
But we haven't. We met Brandon Cronenberg in the most interesting way. We
The
were
weirdest, coolest, awesomest way.
We were
in a warehouse.
in ABCs of Death 2 for W is for Wish. He was wearing a pink toga and a tiara, and we were wearing latex. And one of us removed his heart, and the other one put a gem in it. And we're like, "Oh, hi, Brandon. Hi, I'm Jen. I'm Sylvia.
cool.
Oh, cool."
Had you seen his film at that point?
I love Dan
Yeah.
Tavero.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
It was at the Cannes. Well, it played in Cannes when American Mary was in the market. So I saw it everywhere, and I saw Cronenberg, and I saw Brandon. I was like, "Oh, that's exciting!" And I've met Caleb before. Actually, he is the most confident young man I've ever met. I was at Fantastic Fest with Tristan Risk, and she played Beatrice Johnson, and she's one of the most drop-dead gorgeous women in the world. And this little guy comes over and tries to pick the three of us up. And Jen and I are just watching this guy like, who the fuck does he think he's? I'm like, he's definitely an actor.
We're all in X-Men dresses before the release of First Class, and we're like, who the fuck is this kid? And I'm like, he must have like a huge one.
Oh, I was so
Maybe he does. Maybe he has a
He's
Jared
got
Leto.
a huge one.
Ladies, can I get you a drink? Yeah, no, he was cool. And then his dad came, and I think he was chaperoning him at the time. He had a big hat.
So he's the
like,
youngest son, is he?
Is he?
Oh, I don't know. I was guessing.
I don't know.
I have no idea. Somebody I did. Nobody knows.
They can't all be wins. They can't all be wins.
So, but now Cronenberg's Shadow, now that you guys are announced to direct a remake or a sequel or a reimagining. We were all confused before the show because it said part 2, Rabid Part 2 on.
If there's one, I'll do that one too.
Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe they're just optimistic about how the first one's going to go.
Yeah, I saw that, and Jen wasn't on as a director for a while, so that was some heat in the household. I was going to do one, and then Sylv was going to do 2.
Right.
Yeah, that was a contract negotiation I wasn't aware of.
But did you ever find out Cronenberg liked your film or how he reacted to American
I
Mary?
know that he does like American Mary, but I don't know how he feels about remakes. But I think because 10 years into his career, he reimagined The Fly. And before, he wasn't as popular. It kind of really brought him to a mainstream audience. This is 10 years into Jen and my career. Yeah. A lot of people don't really know who we are, and this is going to be our first wide theatrical release. So I think this is the first time a lot of people are going to be like, who are these crazy chicks? And they'll look back and they're like, what? They did 4 other movies and 1/26 of a film. I would also argue that Rabid... I love every Cronenberg film, but I wouldn't say Rabid is a precious film like Videodrome or Scanners or Dead Ringers.
Well, they're also his early film. I mean, I love his early films. I miss them most, too. But I know what you mean. They're not. They're him learning.
Like I recently they said they're remaking Jacob's Ladder. I'm upset by that because Jacob's Ladder and The Thing are my 2 go-to practical effects movies. Right. Yeah. When I say practical is awesome.
It was the first time that I saw Twitchy. I'll say, Jacob's Ladder, where you're like, oh my god, that guy's moving weird. Yeah, it was like the first use of the Twitchy.
Yeah. Well, also, you look at the log line on Jacob's Ladder, it doesn't sound anything like the original movie. So you're like, well, why? Why would you call it Jacob's Ladder if you're making this movie that is not even remotely like that other great movie? So, I don't know.
That's very precious. When you're doing a remake, you have to know why the original was important or why it mattered to people. And you need to add something else. If you're not adding anything to a remake or a reimagine, what's the point of remaking it?
And he was before, really, like Shivers and Rabid from memory. I might be wrong with Rabid, but were before AIDS had really like burst onto the national scene in America, right? Like I believe so. I think they always talk about when it was on Time magazine is when literally the day Time magazine featured AIDS, like on the cover, it's when that became the issue. Like before that, it wasn't spoken about, but it was affecting gay communities, but not the rest of the communities in the same way. And so I remember thinking that it's so weird that his films, even though he's not really making them about that consciously, he's like just like 2 years or something ahead of
these big issues. The Fly was the one that got most associated with that epidemic. I watched
but Rabid, but because they're actually having
more
sex
accurate.
with
it's more accurate
people
with
and passing something along and draining. They're all interesting. All 3 of those movies have that element. It was just interesting.
Well, he's a futurist. There's so many trends that he predicts. And the original Rabid, they're joking about getting cosmetic surgery and saying, oh, daddy didn't like the old nose and that sort of thing. Yeah. To the point that nowadays people get plastic surgery, big plastic surgery all the time. And in 1977, nobody was getting that much plastic surgery.
Now, how do you go about getting the rights to this one? I mean, what you can tell us, whatever that is about it so far. I'm curious if this is something you guys pursued or if somebody came to you about the project.
It came to us. It was a miracle this December, and we didn't think it could possibly be real. And we got back to them right away, and they're like, thanks for the prompt reply. And the email was very sweet and very casual. Would you be interested in remaking David Cronenberg's Rabid? And the answer had to be yes. And then I was quickly like, are these people real?
Real
life thing that's happening. Not the first Rabid that's been dangled in front of me.
And then the next morning we had an interview, and we talked a lot about Rabid and Cronenberg because they've been trying to do a remake for a long time, but it just doesn't. It's fallen through so many times. I think
he's put a curse on most of them.
Well, it's a difficult thing to do. Like I heard they wanted to do Shivers without sexuality.
That's tough.
I heard that.
I don't see how you could do it.
What is that? Yeah.
It's the weird incest and weird sexual hookups in Shivers that makes it Shivers.
Well, it's
called Tinder.
Point. Yeah.
We replaced the name Shivers with Tinder, and that's what you get. It's just a big orgy everywhere.
It's just weird shit in an apartment building.
Yeah.
It's Poltergeist 3.
I'd watch that.
Not bad either.
I'd watch that. Poltergeist 3. I like it. So like they came to you with the rights. They had funding in place, or they still had to
funding in place. It was the first time being a niche filmmaker worked, because we do female-centric body horror.
Right.
So they were looking for female-centric body horror, and then people have called us
Canadian
Cronenbergian before, and so we ended up on a very short list of people. We actually there's a dude that we beat out. I was very proud of it because he had a good chance.
Sorry, Brandon. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
That's cool because Adam Wingard gets all the roles. So I'm glad Wingard finally lost
Tell
to
me
somebody.
about it. He's up doing Death Note in
I
Vancouver.
could kill him
He's
if he
doing
wasn't
12
so
movies right now.
wonderful.
Yeah, he's directing
We
like
love you,
5
Adam.
tomorrow.
Yeah, but the guest was so fucking
Oh, yeah, we
we
love
didn't
Adam.
like give them all to him.
Yeah.
Did
What
you
a-
see his
what a
new
lead.
show? Outcast
Outcast.
is awesome. And like, even
Outcast.
one episode, I was like, oh man.
Oh, Robert
so good.
Kirkman is so talented.
Yeah, it was really cool. So how much creative control did you like? Was it just we have a title we're remaking, or did they have a script in place? Or, like how much creative
you
control
guys
do
are
you
going
guys
to the
bring?
questions I may not be
Okay,
able
well,
to
you can-
necessarily
I
answer.
will.
How about this?
I'll
Let's-
vaguely answer.
Do your vague answer.
Oh, totally.
Well,
Vague
rather
answer.
than vague, let's talk about that in terms
Yeah.
of the last couple of projects. Because was See No Evil 2 something that came to you or pursued you, or the same thing with Vendetta? And it's like, when something comes to you, how much do you both get to bring to it? Like when it's a project that you didn't originate.
Well, we get so involved in anything that we're part of. One of the first conversations we have is how much creative freedom do we have with the script? Because realistically, every script is the greatest script when it's written, and then shit just changes.
Yeah.
You bring in an actor, locations change, you think of someone comes up with a great idea, and it just evolves. If I come into something and I can't change the script or have any creative influence on it, Sylvan and I just don't do that. We just can't, because it has to be, when you're the director especially, you need to be able to massage it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, See No Evil came to us out of the blue, though, and we actually started watching wrestling when Kane was introduced, and they're like, hey guys, you have to read this script. You read it right away. It's an emergency. See No Evil 2. I'm like, oh, okay, and then I didn't read it, and did you read that script yet? I'm like, oh, for real? Because usually that's a week or two for me. Okay, I'll read it. And then I read it, I was like, there's no way this is the same thing, because I saw See No Evil 1 in the theater. And then when The Undertaker shows up, Jen and I have wheelie chairs, and we both push back. We're like, oh!
That's right. In the original, The Undertaker showed up, and I said, hell about getting, working. I just want to be friends with Kane and Undertaker.
Yeah, but Nathan Brooks and Bobby Lee Darby had a great jumping off point with the script, but luckily they let us be like really creatively involved. Like that scene where that was originally a dude that Catherine Isabel played. We turned it into this like kind of killery, sexed up girl. She's the jock, actually, and she pressures her boyfriend into sex, and it was originally a blowjob. I was like, and this is one of the proudest moments of my career. I always say that I don't get away with half the shit I try and pull, but this was good when they're like, you can't have him go down on her. I'm like, it's really sexy. Ask anybody, and they're quiet, and they're like, well, I don't want to talk about the sex. And then Buddy's going down on Catherine Isabel while Kane is there, and she's watching his dead body, and I was like, yeah, I got away with that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, a guy probably didn't write that scene.
I also just love that your mother's listening right now.
She
I love that.
is.
So she's somewhere going, oh.
My mom's unfortunately
That's
heard
your
this
thing.
story a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, your mother's lovely. She likes all my Facebook posts. I adore her.
That's
She's
cute.
really
That's
sweet.
really funny.
You're good people. If my mom likes your stuff, you're good people.
So quit trying to distract my question. But no, you can tell me if you can't say. But do you have some creative freedoms that you bring? You don't have to tell us what they are.
I think people who have missed our unique voice with the last few projects are going to be very happy with the amount of creative control
The amount of
Jennifer
Soskas in there?
and I have
Cool.
in there.
Yeah, if you liked American Mary and you like David Cronenberg, do we have a treat for you?
And besides that, it's still early stages. Like this isn't cast. In terms of our what we should know.
Depends on me checking my phone.
Okay, cool.
We
So
are
it's early,
pursuing actors currently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a wonderful actor who has a script right now, and I'm hoping it works out because we were going to do a movie before and it didn't work out, and I was like, oh, he's so cool. So he might be doing that, but
It's such a good role for our lead too.
it's just
It's such a good role for
I'm
our
just
lady.
smiling because, and I love body horror, but when you do a movie with medical body modification, you have a reality you have to exist in. Mm-hmm. But when it's sci-fi, and you have guys that do really good body medical horror, and you can do stuff that is just human but not human. Like, I used to play this game Parasite Eve all the time, and I loved
great game.
Oh, right?
Great game.
Oh, and when you saw their bodies change, you're like, that's scarier. And that kind of thing for this, of course, but real honest to goodness rabid, like rabies kind of behavior, because people, when they have rabies, they just go insane. And it's interesting to see. It's scary.
So
yeah.
So you cast the youngest Cronenberg son in your new film because he had a big one
and gave him rabies.
We'll take all the jokes that didn't work, and lump them together.
Human centipede them together until they work.
David Cronenberg is a great actor. It would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
There is actually
favorite
something
Cronenberg
in
role.
there.
Do you have a favorite? Favorite Cronenberg, him acting, because
Nightbreed's pretty hard.
Nightbreed's top notch.
I do love him in Jason X.
ridiculous.
What's the one with Sandra Oh in it? The End of the World.
Oh, I love that film. That's a Canadian film by it's that short comedian with from that road movie, Road 66 or Route 66.
Yeah. But what's it called? Oh my gosh!
And he directed it. Don McKellar directed it. Oh my! Last night.
Last night.
Without touching my phone.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, everyone in that movie. That's actually one of my favorite Canadian movies.
Oh, really?
So it's just a good movie. Like, it's just interesting.
It's a great movie. Not enough people know about it.
No,
it's Canadian.
And it came out right in 2000. Like, it was about 99 to the millennium changeover. And Don McKellar's a funny guy, like interesting actor. But Cronenberg plays a very kind of normal guy, and it's like him and Sandra have planned to commit suicide together on that night as lovers and partners. And then I can't remember what gets in the way, but it's all the little things that screw up your final day on Earth. It's cool.
Is it? No. He's the one reading the book, isn't he?
I don't know.
He's working at the company. He's calling all of the customers.
He is, but I think they're still meant to meet.
Yeah.
And
You're right.
And she's going to do it, and he doesn't show up or something.
Yeah.
Cool movie, though.
Yeah,
weird
really
sci-fi dystopia.
Yeah, we wrote a part for him in Rabid.
Okay. So
no, you said you wrote a part.
I mean, I asked the writer to write it in.
Snap, crackle, and pop. Segue.
we can always delete it if you need us to delete it.
Segue out.
No, I'll leave it in.
But it would be cool if I hope he shows up.
We hope he gets in there.
We got the tip, and let's shove the rest in.
Well, you know what's fun for us? So we've seen you on the convention circuit before, and you've done a lot, and you guys go above and beyond when it comes to the people that come to your table. Just like so appreciative, and you spend a lot of time with each and every person.
I love those people.
Speaking of, shout out to Amanda Oakes.
Amanda Oakes.
Who we know is listening.
She was at Etheria last weekend.
I know she was my watching mate, my movie mate. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Tara.
We bought her a drink.
Miss you already.
And they've been super, always dedicated fans to like listeners. We try not to call them fans either because they're our audience, but they're also listeners and become our friends.
They are our friends.
Jonathan Hughes
super cool. Well. Jonathan Hughes in the UK. And
Jonathan rocks.
Soska Soldier. Hi, Jonathan.
I know. I always see them posting about you guys as well, so it's always really cool that the streams are finally crossing here.
Right.
But I do think cultivating an audience, which I think is important. I think, and that's what I knew about your first film. I think I might have seen you on a circuit before seeing the first film, but I could tell that you guys understood that the new world of how these things work is you have to kind of work it. You have to cultivate it, and it has to be genuine. They'll see through it if it wasn't.
I think that's what's keeping us employed so long. I think we're very genuine. I don't like calling them fans either because I'm a fan. I'm a horror movie fan, and I'm a fan that's making movie for other fans. So that's really awesome. And I think branding is also something really, really important about surviving in this industry. Even if you don't have a thing, like Kevin Smith, he's the I don't have a thing. That's his thing.
Yeah.
That is his thing. I mean, not everyone, people tell us, it's easy, you're an identical twin. Trust me, it's a double-edged sword. A lot of people close doors.
Well, it's hard to get off the niche of this because the Deer Penthouse thing, they're like, oh my God, they can't. Like, my least favorite comment that I see all the time is the only reason you're directing movies is because you're so pretty. I'm like, what does that? Thank you for thinking I'm so pretty. They give me millions of dollars to be in charge.
We're actually, they live under here. You just roll it up in the morning.
This is just Masters of Facts.
I had somebody say that about, that's why I was able to climb up in the ranks at Fango, was just because you were pretty. And that
so
just killed it. Because I'd be like, thank you, but fuck you.
I mean, you are
pretty.
Very
you are
pretty.
really
And it's a lie because she was sleeping with everyone.
Oh my god!
I can speak from experience. Am I right, Becca?
Listen, let me dispel that because me and Elric are not pretty, and we've accomplished a lot.
Hey,
yeah, we have to get
we have our masculine charms.
You're too
That kills you when you hear that because it's just like, how do I even fucking respond to it?
Nobody ever says Eli Roth's successful because he's hot. He's very
He's
hot.
a very attractive
But
guy.
nobody ever picks
But
apart
you know what?
that.
I wouldn't lie. I heard that even as long as about Catherine Bigelow, I would even hear comments to this day, like a few years ago, like, "Oh, she's still really hot for her age," and things like that. About after she'd won the Oscar, but she'd won the Oscar for directing. Yeah. And it's still a factor. And as a guy, I guess I kind of get the edge of that, the negative, like how because we can't not look at a woman and think that. But the fact that would be the first part of that comment, not the part where you go, she made Point Break, yo. You know what I mean? She made Near Dark.
Was sick,
I mean, these are movies that,
my favorite movie of all time.
Near Dark.
I can see why. I can see why.
They've mocked me for it before.
No,
Point Break.
they're
No,
wrong.
I've never mocked you for Point Break.
No, I think we mocked you for Point Break Live. We've never done that.
We should go. I want to go to Point Break Live.
Me too.
Because they pick a new person.
I would go any
been?
second. I have not been.
We were planning a girls' night out.
They're gonna
There's
bring
one
you.
in
We
the
did
city.
our non-horror
Let's
show.
do it after
and
we're
when
all
I
on
was
Elevator.
like-
We'll just hang out.
I'm definitely
Tie-in.
my genre of choice when I'm not watching horror is like it's action. I want things exploding. I want guys with muscles and guns and girls with muscles
Stone
and guns.
Cold.
Yes,
Stone
Stone
Cold.
Cold.
Yeah,
Oh
right.
fucking yes, Stone Cold.
Sure.
When we had Lance Henriksen on the show, I brought it hadn't
Your
come out.
VHS.
I brought my VHS
Yeah.
of Stone Cold for him to sign because I was like, I love you and everything else you've done, but this is where my heart is.
By the way, Becca, I found video that I took on my phone of that. By the way,
It's
that's cool.
amazing.
Of
I
you
know.
getting Lance to sign
I
his Stone
need to
Cold
see
VHS.
it.
I gotta dig it out.
It's
What's
kind of
and
amazing.
and you know, if you can't talk about it, that's totally fine. But what are the negative? I mean, because this is a very real thing, and it's every year we see these stats. 6% of the industry are women working. What are the worst Hollywood or stories you've had in the industry? Obviously, there's been a lot of great things because you guys are actually like knocking down doors as you're doing it. But what are if you feel like it, talking about what are some of the negatives of the sexism, the things that obviously some of them will be obvious, but are there things that surprised even you guys that you've come
I've
up
never
against?
experienced sexism.
Nothing weird.
No. No, everyone's been really respectful to me and my identical twin sister.
Oh, man, I'm gonna
I think they're bullshitting.
No. You know, there's the basic stuff, honey, sweetie, baby. I couldn't wait to turn 30 because I was always dubbed a 20-something-year-old. Honey, you don't know how the
You're
industry
just in your
works.
20s.
Yeah, you'll grow out of this phase. You'll learn how the... And then as soon as I was 30, it was like, hey, I'm 30 now. I know shit about shit. I've been through it for a while.
Yeah, but we were always teased, so I have a pretty thick skin about it. It's just when my mom, it was really hard for her, because on Dead Hooker, people would say, like, really mean, like, yeah, you fucking whores, I'm gonna
On
murder
social
you.
media or
yeah,
on
on your
boards.
trailers, or if
Yeah.
they can, and it's people that you don't expect, and it's really angry stuff. Like, when we did, we were in a magazine holding axes in the woods, and somebody found my parents' phone number and threatened them because we were holding the axes incorrectly, and they wanted to issue an apology for. Like, you don't understand.
Well, that's just weird.
Yeah.
You don't plan. You don't plan the kind of crazy.
Those Canadian hunters are serious.
You
Like,
know, the studio system has never been a horrible experience for me because there's rules put there for a certain reason, and the WWE seeked us out. Like, they've been changing their brand a lot, and they're like, we don't have any women directors. Will you do this? And they wanted us to change it up. They gave us all that opportunity.
And I gotta say, I reviewed Vendetta when it came out.
Bless you.
And I don't know if there's a movie that has more fucking testosterone than the one directed by two girls. Like, seriously. There's more balls in that movie. I was
Point
like, wow.
Break. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And they didn't want to hire us because Michael
Also,
Luisi
Dean Cain
produced-
is super underrated.
Badass. For us, Vendetta
Come
was
on.
our Punisher movie.
Yeah.
He's Frank Castle versus the Kingpin in jail. And if you watch Daredevil season 2...
They do go to jail, and
Like, even down to
he's
the...
working out in the gym by himself.
Yeah.
I saw that Daredevil. We're available.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, there's plenty of Marvel shows coming on Netflix.
Yeah.
So you never
I would
know.
say that. But I think it's the intermediate guys you have to be careful of because they're not starting out and they've never made it big and there's a reason. Like, my parents never made their money back. They got ripped off. We've been in a lawsuit for years trying to figure that out. Like, this is a very,
because they bullshit you about the back end, right? Even if
Oh,
you're about,
even if
well, we
there's
had
a
marketing
contract,
expenses.
Even
XYZ.
if there's a contract and it'll break your heart, like Making Mary, I don't like to talk about it because it's such a special film for people. That was the worst experience making it because the guys, I signed away my character rights. I didn't know anything like that, and then I wouldn't. The guy was exactly like the story we were making. This movie about it. It's like, didn't you watch the movie? Didn't you realize this was going to happen? And then if you look at the later things of American Mary, they've taken our name off the poster.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But how rewarding will it feel for you guys to make that money back, pay back your parents at some point? And be
I'm
like,
all right. Thank you, Blumhouse. I'm on my way. I'm on my
thank you.
way.
But I know, like,
Yeah, but it kills you because it's your mom and your dad, and they.
But they believe in you so much.
Yeah.
You know what? The best story I might have said on the show, but my all-time favorite Hollywood story is Jenna Rollins being interviewed about John Cassavetes, and she said, they asked her, "Oh, how'd you make the movies?" And she said, "Well, let me put it this way: we mortgaged our house 5 times to make movies," and then she just pauses and she goes, "I still own the house."
Wow.
My all-time, and this is a guy who had passed on, and she's like, "That's how she viewed it." She's like, "Look, we took a lot of risks, but I still own it."
That's beautiful.
And it worked
That's
out in the long run,
It
and
does.
so
It does.
they
work
went
out.
all in.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it for all of us.
Yeah.
So
one
true.
of the differences that I've always noticed between guy directors and girl directors, at least I assume that it's kind of a difference, is stalkers. And,
Yeah.
and I only know this because we have some of the same stalkers,
I'm
ladies.
so sorry.
No. I see your
2 of
names
them
pop
right
up.
here.
Like, I've
3
seen
more
us
beers
in
and
the
we're
same
good.
stuff before,
Yeah.
and this guy wrote in the same thing.
Yeah.
And, oh wait, you're in there too. And I've even messaged you guys and been like, "Hey guys, they're doing this, and I'm in there." And FYI, he's doing this thing again. And I just don't hear that from guy directors.
No.
And we're like, it's like a group where it's like you guys, and I talk to Jessica Cameron sometimes, and Jen Lynch, and it's like,
oh
I
my
see-
god, they're insane.
I see these like just venomous things, and
Yeah.
I never hear that from guy directors.
No,
And-
John
absolutely
Gallagher
not.
probably has a couple. But he's got curb appeal, man.
Well, you wouldn't get naked in every movie.
He does.
Yeah.
It's Star. I know he's in the new one. Tangerine. Do you guys have to actually think about security? Have you ever had anything that escalated?
unfortunately-
I've
Always.
blocked so many people.
Me too. I block people. We've had a scary one that knew where we were and had a plan of how they were going to kill it. But
You ever read the
God.
book, The Gift of Fear? The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker?
everyone should read The Gift of Fear.
Everyone, especially you. Especially,
I'll bring you a copy.
It's
I would love to
Stalker
read
101, and Gavin DeBecker is the leading risk prevention officer in the world. He takes care of the president, celebrities, athletes, and people down to a domestic level. And basically, this book is always trust your gut, because your gut is telling you something that your stupid human brain's like, this huge guy's not going to rape and murder me. I'm just being, judgmental. No, something in your little brain is saying, get the fuck away.
Flight or flight.
Yeah, and this book, I've actually even called the agency because I had a pretty bad stalker, and they got taken away.
Yeah, but you never know where it's going to come from, and it's that book's all about listening to because you sense it before you know what it is. It's just you're like, well, my brain doesn't have a reason that I feel this way, so I don't want to be, paranoid.
It's all about being mean, because I get that at conventions
Yes.
too, where
Yeah.
I'm talking to them and they're like, "Oh, I'm this guy," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, he's kind of creeped me out online, but it's cool. We'll keep talking because I don't want to be mean."
It's
Because
like
what
funny
if-
games. Imagine if they just
Yeah.
said no fucking eggs for you, motherfucker,
Yeah.
and closed the door.
It's funny, like for men in movies, they do it like Fatal Attraction, but it's so less common than what you guys get. And I feel like I would really like if I looked like you guys and I went to a convention and everyone wanted to hug me and be near me, I'd be like, oh yeah, cool, and I wouldn't be able to see someone coming who was a little off compared to somebody who's just a big fan.
Obviously, I'm not at all.
Oh, you are. You
No,
are,
I've
Come
experienced. I like to be a very private person. I've experienced it on a very minimal level, and it's really hard. So I can only imagine being very public,
Yeah.
and and female, and kind of out. It's just. I sympathize because I hate the little experiences I've had with it. I just want everyone to leave me alone and just want to work. I want to concentrate on the work, and that's it. If you dig it, cool.
Did they talk about avoidance? Is it the idea that to avoid that, or is it to confront in terms of not in person, obviously, but to say to the person, hey, this isn't cool?
You know, there's a great story in it that says X amount of people die every day or every year by coconuts falling on their head. And the way that you prevent that from ever happening to you is you don't walk under coconut trees. Yeah. There are different things that you can do in life to just pull yourself out. But unfortunately, I go to conventions, I go to film festivals. Yeah. If you try not that hard, my life is an open book. It's easy to find people. So, obviously we're kickboxers. I always carry a weapon on me. And
we don't go
have security.
This is unusual. Because we trust you guys, please don't murder me, but usually I'm looking around. Why is this a weird
shaking his head?
Greg, our board to my apartment.
Anyways, but the door's open.
No, but we usually bring someone with us just in case, because I remember there's this guy on my crew once, and he was German, and I have a German family, and he sent me this weird message one night, and I was like, oh, I don't know how he got my email. Weird German message. I'll just ignore it. And then he wrote me a 7-paragraph graphic rape email explaining how he was going to... And I remember sending it to my agency, and they're like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. And then I sent it to a few people being like, this is so scary. Is this normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? And I remember I sent it to Eli Roth. He's like, I get those ones too. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, the way we have to look at it is we're inspiring these people. And he's like, it's different for me because when they meet me at a convention, like Eli's 6 foot and he's all muscle. People, they deflate when they meet him. Especially this little girl. But when
it's a lot easier online. But when you're face to face with somebody,
with a bear Jew, what are you going to do?
Except in person with us, some people I see get really, because they think this is my one chance of meeting these twins, having this experience. And I think our movies mean something to people, and it's a great thing. But sometimes they see us online and they piece together who they think we are and what they think our relationships are with, and it's scary. Like, it's the people who you don't see it coming from, I think, are worse than the people that just write, oh, fuck those bitches. It's like, of course those guys hate me.
Definitely. But I mean, even Spielberg had that major stalker. The guy was writing him emails. They found him on his property, and he had written letters about how he was going to rape Spielberg.
Jeez, I remember that.
And it was intense. Yeah. And so you realize it's not just. I mean, it's definitely skewed. That happens a lot less. But you realize it's a think about ownership. Like, I like this thing so much, I must possess it.
Exactly.
To have it, and that's a way to have it. You know?
And if they can't do it in a positive way, they want to do it in a negative. I mean, what happened in Orlando? That poor 22-year-old singer.
Unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
for no reason.
Insane.
For no fucking reason at all. What
that happened in Orlando as well? In the same week?
Same day.
Same day. Like
day.
48 hours.
Oh my God. I didn't even know
awful.
I was out of the country.
That was when you were in Australia.
Yeah. I think it is. I think it's good to talk about, though, because you're not alone too. There's a lot of people who are on convention circuits, and you're very public. I mean, somebody can go right up to you, but it's also important for those people to understand that there's a boundary, even if they don't see the boundaries.
Yeah,
right?
But even saying that, like us and Doug Jones, we hug everybody. Yeah. We love hugging. There's a good energy from that, and most of the people I meet are the greatest people in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
they're
fans
so
are
usually
sweet.
pretty
awesome. Absolutely.
99% of the people who I speak with on Facebook, on Twitter, at the convention,
yeah, they're all great for the most part.
It's a romantic comedy fan who's going to kill you. It ain't the horror guy.
I don't trust them.
But there are a few that are attracted to horror for the wrong reasons. You can tell there's a psychosis there, and they don't understand the pretend. I think.
Yeah, and there's mental illness, but that's not an excuse.
Yeah, and that's not limited to the horror.
Right, it goes to guns and everything. It's not the thing itself; it's the people who are attracted.
We're getting dark and deep
Sorry,
right now.
it is a horror podcast.
Where I was going with the whole convention thing is because we, in our first episode, we had talked about the first times we had met our heroes and celebrities at these shows and conventions, our stories, and like what was the most embarrassing thing you did for somebody that you grew up admiring. So, being that you go to the conventions a lot, tell us some fun stories about some of the people, some of your heroes, some of the people that you grew up watching, getting to meet them. And sometimes I'm sure they come back to you like, we love your movie. And you're like, oh my God. So who are some of those horror celebrities that you've
like Ricky Bates?
Yeah,
like Ricky Bates. Love Ricky Bates.
People you idolize.
Rob and I wouldn't be best friends if it wasn't for Ricky Bates.
great. I don't know why I brought you. I don't know why.
You know, that was a hilarious
I don't
episode.
know why.
You weren't there for that.
I wasn't.
It was at a Killer PV when Ricky's like, yo, level with me. Did you send them like dick pics or something? No! He's like, I just want to know all the details.
Yeah,
what was it? Yeah, no, it's weird. I don't know what it is.
It could have been through association. Yeah, it been through association, because if I block someone, I'm like the kingpin. I block your whole family.
Yeah.
No, clearly it wasn't you. We're besties now.
We are now.
Ricky Bates is fucking awesome. I remember I was told about Ricky from Anchor Bay because when he did Excision,
great movie,
he was bringing some merch that he made himself, which was a bunch of tampons that he had dunked in red.
It's Ricky, all right.
That Ricky had gone through the Canadian border with that, and he thought, oh, should have done it afterwards. And that was the first time I ever. And then they went, "You'll love him," and I was like, okay, cool. I bet I will. And then when we were in LA, we met in Culver City. And when you're a foreigner, it means it's really nice when people are nice. And
sure.
Ricky and I have very similar sensibilities, and we're like Excision and Mary came out at the same year.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
Yeah,
but
and you guys have cameos in the
Suburban
Godly.
Godly.
That's right.
Yeah. I got to be in a movie with Jeffrey Combs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He doesn't know we're going to get married one day. It's okay. It's not weird.
Elray sort of knows him. Let him know.
Oh yeah.
Tell him.
You
want to know something?
He's a super nice guy. Like really, of all the celebrities I've met in LA, he was the guy who most surprised me because I actually hear from a lot of people that are, he's a bit of an asshole. Or whatever. And I think it's just that the industry is hard for actors. Like being a director is
a hard gig.
But being an actor, I think and especially in the transition where they used to get paid to do lots of TV, and now I think a lot of these guys are at a point where people like us would want to cast them for like nothing, and they get a lot of those offers. And I think at a certain point he was like, I remember him talking about not doing Your Next. He was meant to be the dad in Your Next. They offered, and he's just like, they just couldn't fucking pay. That's all he said. He said they couldn't fucking pay it. And to him, he doesn't know it's going to be great. Like, he has no idea.
Of course
and
not.
some people want to cultivate that, but some
Yeah.
people are just like working actors and they got to go from one gig. So I don't know, he's always been super, super kind.
He
I always
brought us,
thought.
like, we interviewed him, and then the next day he emailed us and was like, I want to invite all of you to Poe.
Yeah, he did.
We all had
And my
to
mom
receive-
came from New Zealand. My all-time favorite story. My mom comes from New Zealand, and I said, I want to take you to Nevermore, and I bought my ticket online, so he didn't even know I bought it. Like, there's no way he should have known. I bought it independently, took my mother to go see it, and I show up to the thing, and they go, oh, Mr. King, Jeffrey saved you a seat in the front row. So we get the best seats in the house.
Yes,
so he must have scanned the list. And that's a guy.
nice.
That's a guy who, like, has it, you know.
It was great because we showed up as well, knowing that there were tickets waiting for us, and it was just like, Miss McKendry, right this way. And I was, no one ever calls me Miss McKendry.
Yeah, he's a cool
I
dude.
thought you guys were going to, like, put me in a cardboard box in the concession stand. This is awesome.
So I'm going to wait till the timing's right and things are rocky with the wife, and I'm going to get you in there.
He's your in. He's your in with Combs.
It's not creepy at all that I actually have his number.
Daughter's acting, and she's doing really well apparently in New York. I keep seeing
Get to
posts
him
about
for
her
the
being on
daughter,
stage.
nice
You know, that's
class.
the way.
That's it.
Cast her and Rabid, you're way laughing. Where did that even come from? I don't even remember.
That came from interesting people you've met.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
We've had plenty of fun. I've been going to conventions since I was like 15 years old, and it's like
Lucky.
You remember meeting some of these people the first time. So.
Oh yeah, Clive Barker was so sweet, and he spoke to us for half an hour just as we were starting American Mary. Ended up giving us a quote for. He was so nice. We left, and I turned away, and we just both cried because I was like, I worked so hard to get there.
Where was that?
Dark Delicacies.
Oh,
wow!
yeah.
Places,
Amazing.
One of our favorite places.
Oh, and he spent so much time with everyone. You could tell he wasn't feeling well, but still, everyone got the time. And no matter what they brought to him, it would be like sculptings of Pinhead, and he'd take the time with everybody.
He's super classy. One of my most favorite people that I ever met was Mary Herron.
Oh, wait, maybe I preempted.
You inception that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about Mary. No,
Eventually, it was going
Third
to come.
twinster. He knew it.
we have
I'm the butch one.
we're at the same agency, and we were going to do XX together, and then for whatever reasons, neither of us ended up doing it. But when we were in New York doing Blumhouse elevator stuff, it was like, can I have lunch with Mary? Because she watched American Mary, and she didn't hate it. I was like, yeah.
One of my favorite moments sitting there, she's like, so girls, what's your favorite horror movie? And we're like, oh, fuck. And then we both go, American Psycho.
Oh, wow.
And she was so genuine, like, thank you.
I just became a
Nicest
director
lady.
because of you. really? Oh. And she's like, I'm going to give you an American Psycho story. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'll say it right now. Okay.
No, don't. Just leave them hanging.
And that was the story.
But
yeah, because I was so fascinated by how she did it. And she was like, well, it was right before we were doing the threesome scene. And Christian and I were talking. We're like, we should probably plan this out. And we're like, okay. And then so we rented some porn, and we came back the next day, and we had these little stick people, and here they were, and we're like, okay, we're gonna do that one, we're gonna do that one, we're gonna do that one. And I was like, you and Kristen Bale did stick people after watching porn together. You guys are so rock stars.
Is she Canadian as well?
She is Canadian.
She's Canadian. Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
And she's New York based now?
She
has been.
I think she lives in New York, and I think she goes up to Toronto to film. And I know she's doing the Girls of Manson. Her and Guinevere Turner are
cool.
reteaming for that adaptation.
I love Guinevere Turner. I haven't met her yet, but I'm going to while we're here.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And then I think Mary's working on a TV series right now because she just snagged an actress I was after for Ravid, but it's okay because she's the master.
Wow.
She's the master. It's fine.
Somebody's going to try to decipher that online.
I'd love to know the story about her getting that, because you look back at the time and go, yeah, a female director of that kind of book that was so extreme, it seems like a radical choice. And
She
it's
must
kind
have
of,
had a hell of a pitch.
I would love to know how that went
David
out.
Cronenberg was up for it before.
Oh, really?
Wow.
The one that I heard for a long
Crazy
time,
movie.
Stuart Gordon doing it with Johnny Depp.
Wow.
And he wanted to shoot it in black and white. And
weird.
Really crazy idea.
Weird.
Yeah, Stewart had it for a long time. American Psycho.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That
And
is
Johnny was all. Yeah, I mean, this is before Pirates of the Caribbean. Like Johnny was still doing the weirdo movies with freaking
Dead
Jarmusch
Man
and
or
whoever.
whatever. Yeah.
So he was like,
That's
"Yep, I'm in.
interesting.
That sounds cool."
I hadn't heard that. Actually, that might be a good article for you guys to
No,
trace
it is.
different
It is
I
one
was
I
going
want
to
to
say,
say.
Rob, can we get that one for this?
Well, yeah, I've been
next
meaning to do the
week?
Stuart Gordon one for a long time because there's bits and pieces of it, but he had it for a long time with Johnny attached.
That's interesting. That's kind of like Preacher. It went through a bunch of people before it landed where it did. And I think who was the director? Sam Mendes?
Mendes for a long time had it.
Oh,
He
really?
had the rights. He was developing the whole world of it. I was so excited to see what he would
too.
do. Not that he's particularly edgy, but I knew it would be good, like big.
Oh, sure.
Because he did all the last two Bonds, and then it went to the weirdest place that you could have ever
well,
met.
Wasn't it?
We'll talk about the show afterwards.
Yeah, I've only watched the pilot so far, but it definitely. I was still kind of on the back foot with it. Like, I want to get into it. So we'll see.
We'll talk after.
Yeah.
It's like X-Files, you want to believe.
Oh, my new X-Files. I don't know. What about contemporary? Like your contemporaries, people who are making films at the same time. We just joked about Wingard. Obviously,
We met Adam
killing it.
Wingard. Oh, this is so funny. So we were downtown with a girlfriend, and apparently Adam was in town.
And we didn't know because we know he was coming in, but he was there like 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, and then we're walking down the street, and this guy's the most happiest, warmest smile like this, and Jen and
Smile and he waves.
And Jen and I are like, I don't want to talk to this guy. And we pretend we're talking, and he's like,
We
Jen,
do the duck out conversation where we're like talking really intensely about something, and there's no break in the conversation,
and he
no
goes,
way in.
And he goes, Jen, Sylvia, and we're like, oh hey.
And that just makes it worse because we don't know who this person is.
It's Adam. Wingard. Oh, Adam! He was so nice.
We instantly drop it. We did. I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
We thought you were a
you.
total weirdo.
The guy with the Tumblr account. You can trust my Tumblr.
And then we awkwardly explain that's how we react when someone tries to say hello to us.
I didn't know. But yeah, and then we hung out afterwards. I poured a Bellini into my crotch, and then it dried.
As you do.
We had a great.
It's a
Nice.
Hungarian custom of saying hello, welcome, Adam Wingard to Vancouver.
in my crotch.
Bellini.
Have you guys had Wingard on this?
Not yet.
No,
We'd love
not
to.
yet.
No.
But I mean, he's directing 12 movies in a row, so
Yeah.
it's like,
Yes.
getting him would be tough.
His voice and the subject matter of what he talks about is so spooky. It's like he was born to make every scary movie forever. He's just so interesting.
Well, the last time I talked to him was when he was editing Horrible Way to Die. Because AJ Bowen's in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I met him at a bar locally, and it was like, I'm editing it. It's coming together pretty good.
It's Alabama, right? It's
Yeah,
from Alabama.
yeah. And it's like, and before that, he worked with Tiffany Shepis.
Uh-huh.
What was the first movie?
Popsicle.
No, there's one before that. that Tiffany's in.
The one with Bill Moseley.
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah. I
It's
forgot
like
the name.
6 something or whatever. Yeah. So I mean, he's been pounding the pavement for a long time.
Well, he was like 20 years old, I think, when that one got made.
Really?
His first one. I think I read the story. It was
Look it
kind of
up.
like you
Yeah,
guys,
I'm
where
looking it up.
he just took any
It's
money he
before
had that he
Popsicle.
would have gone to film school and he put it into a little movie. He put just enough money into it to be able to pay for Bill Moseley and Sick Hay because he knew it would sell if those two people were in it.
Yeah.
And so he just paid them the $5,000 or $10,000
Shepis.
you needed to be in a day or two of a film. And I remember reading about it early, but that one didn't really get noticed. Sick Man or something. But Popsicle was the one that
I think Synapse put it out on DVD. But yeah, then going
just
on
unique.
to Popsicle and then Horrible Way to Die, right to...
Not all directors you can see the leap with each film. He's
It's
one of the
called
few I've seen a
Homesick.
big leap.
Homesick.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But the leap between Even You're Next to, which is really good, and then when I saw The Guest, I was like, that was the biggest leap I think I've ever
it's
seen.
huge.
Ah.
I love The Guest
So confident. Yeah, The Guest
hard.
is one of the best films last few years.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
that's
incredible.
It's so fun.
Yeah. Well, we were trying to contempt. We ask everybody because, I mean, obviously you keep up with a lot of
contemporary.
these people on the festival circuit, but it's like, we're always excited to find these new movies, these new voices. So who are some of the people or some of the movies that have stood out in the last couple of years that's like, oh man, I love
I just saw
The Guest.
some things on Adam Wingard's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that one I didn't know.
That one I didn't.
They're looking
Yeah,
at his
he's-
Tumblr.
yeah,
Have you
he's-
ever seen his Tumblr?
I've
It's just-
never seen
It's all
his
nude woman.
Tumblr.
It's just nude pics the whole time. He's
Get
like
outta
Richard
here.
Kern. He's obsessed by like, oh yeah, that's just
nude pics of
it's
other
just, like,
people. I thought it was just
fun.
of him.
It's really funny. It's
No, yeah, he's been
They're
attached to
classic.
I Saw the Devil for a long time.
I
Him
didn't
and
know.
Simon.
I was like whispering it. I was like, "Is this only on my pro account?" But yeah,
No, I Saw the Devil, which
Okay.
I'm mixed about because I love the original movie.
yeah, it depends what you do with it. I mean,
They're
again, like all
remaking
remakes.
I Saw the Devil.
No,
Him and
no,
Simon
that was
Barrett.
Adam's
Yeah.
doing I
Like,
Saw the
really?
Devil.
After
Oh,
Death.
I thought it was another movie for a minute.
Are you thinking
no.
House of the Devil?
I thought House of the Devil. I was like, House of the Devil. That's what
No, the Korean one, which is pretty
I
recent.
love I Saw the
It's
Devil.
an amazing movie.
Oh, it's a brilliant.
You know,
film.
I can't say what he said, but I asked him about that, and he
Did
said
you?
he said something so goddamn good that you're gonna love it.
I hope so.
He's so good though, you guys. Him
I
and Simon
try-
Barrett just give him
Yeah.
all.
But you know what it is? It's like with
Except
people
the
like
ones you
him, it's like
I lost Death Note. It's all good.
Okay.
with people like him, it's like when they make an original movie like The Guest, you're like, but I want him to keep making those original movies.
That's true.
because it's
That
so
is
good.
You don't know how hard it is to pitch an original film.
I know.
Bob is easily the best thing we've ever written, bar none, but
Yeah.
it deals with some dark subject matter. And I think the most difficult thing about it is it's a horror comedy. And it's as dark as it is funny. And it goes dark places and it goes really funny places. And I guess Cabin in the Woods and the Evil Dead TV series and God knows what doesn't prove that horror comedy works.
But
Yeah.
Roseanne had those different levels. Like, you'd be laughing your ass off, and then Dan would grab his coat and leave, and you're like, oh, shit's going down. Like, I like things that have those multi-levels.
Well, Cabin in the Woods was a huge fucking success, was it not financially? So hasn't
That's
that
a good
I know
question,
it was.
because
I don't think it was.
I don't think
Not-
it was.
not
as
Really
much.
is.
It was
more
As
of a cult
horror
classic.
fans, we think of it
We
as
love
a
it
perfect
because we
movie.
watched it and we're like, this movie's amazing.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think
don't
it
think
didn't do those
that was one of those
business.
movies that got delayed. Was going to come out in 3D because they were in a post. It was a big Lionsgate affair, and then they just put it out. They're like, fuck the 3D thing. Let's just put it out there. And I don't think it did nearly as well as they were
I
expecting.
remember Tucker
but-
and Dale vs. Evil. I remember watching that going in a test screening, going, "Oh, this is going to be a home
Huge.
run!
Yeah.
Home run! It's so funny. It's
and
perfect."
it's still kind of an indie
and
low.
now
Like,
it's, and then it's a
nobody
movie that
heard-
never really gets seen.
That's
Yeah.
a bummer. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is so true, isn't
Do
it?
you guys feel the pressure to consistently keep working and stay busy? Because I think that was the biggest lesson I took away from the Mark Pavia episode. We had him on a couple episodes ago, and he had done Night Flyer, Stephen King adaptation back in '90s.
Yeah.
And it took him 19 years to get to the next movie. Huge, but he never gave up, and he's never. I mean,
Yeah.
the lesson of that is that he's always persevered, and he's never been bitter about it. Like, he's always been the enthusiastic, happy guy. A lot of big projects in them, like you almost did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake before, and this
Wow.
one got it. And that was his lesson. He's like, the longer you wait, people look at your filmography and like, why hasn't he worked in 2 years? There's
Yeah.
that stigma. So do you guys feel that at all? Like, do you feel like, we got to do something this year, no matter what?
Well, I think Gary Marshall says always have a lot of eggs in different baskets,
Sure.
because the film that I do next is never the film that I'm expecting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I'm going to write a book called All the Amazing Movies I Didn't End Up Making.
Yeah.
Because per every movie I actually make, there's so many cool projects and scripts that just don't happen. And there's no good reason why projects don't just happen. I mean, there's not enough money, or you don't lose something, or a producer runs off with something, and you never really know what actually happens.
We've talked about that on the show before, about how for every movie that you see, there's
Yeah.
like 10 that you
Yeah.
don't
Absolutely.
see.
Yeah.
And we'll
Great
never
ones.
see. And that the ones that actually get made aren't always the best. They're just the ones that there was some type of cosmic kismet for. Like, the financing was there and the sound guy showed up and nothing happened and everything was okay and we didn't have to recast. So, it's kind of bizarre.
And then you got, like, Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Like, there's some movies that are like, why does it exist?
And why demographic for it?
I know, but there's
why isn't there a sequel?
There is like three of them.
I just lost my nerd card again. That's the best nerd card to lose.
I think the best way to keep yourself from getting discouraged, because there is so much rejection in this industry, is read a lot of books of people who've been there, so you can see how normal it is to feel this way. Like, Gary Marshall has these 2 great books, My Happy Days in Hollywood and Wake Me When It's Funny. Both of those are going to help you so much when you're going through, because he wanted to be a basketball player. He wanted to be a basketball player, and he ended up there. So, you never know.
Jack Nicholson, too.
Wanted to be a basketball player? I wanted to be a
Carpenter, probably.
He didn't want to play video games all day.
Just so you know, Elric, there's multiple Beverly Hills Chihuahuas. Not even just one.
Rest assured.
Darkest nights of my life.
Well, I always, the advice I always give is just if you have a passion for something, if you want to tell stories or make music or just be creative, have confidence in yourself that you will be able to always do that.
Yes.
Meaning, like some people fixate on just one idea. And that's the thing is, it's so common for that one idea to get set up and you get all pumped about it.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason that's beyond your control, it falls apart. So it's like, you know what? Trust in yourself that, all right, that's not the right time for that idea. Maybe one day I can, but I got a lot of things I want to do. So just keep doing all of them. Keep putting a lot of eggs in baskets, and eventually something is going to come out of all of it.
It's really important because so many filmmakers especially want to have Tarantino's career. If Tarantino was starting right now, he would get lost with all the other crazy shit that's there. And everyone thinks you do all your original films directed, written, and produced by you in the order that you want to do them. Whether Tarantino was able to do that or not, who knows? He says so. I think he did. Good for you, man. You're the one guy who did it.
No one else does that.
But nobody else has. Come on, the soundtracks of those movies. I just sit there watching a Zack Snyder movie and being like, that's my whole budget.
Just for that one song.
For that one, the White Rabbit.
Catering.
Awesome.
I talked about that last night when we were watching that. And you guys saw it at Etheria, the Genghis Khan Conquest, which was awesome. So I go home and I'm like, I can't believe that they made this in America, because usually if they make something of that grandiose scope, it's like, oh, this was on a tax credit through Canada or something. $85,000 budget. And I'm watching that and I'm like, that thing was like 7 minutes long. I would have made like 4 movies. Wow. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. But that's a lot of money for a short.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Well, the moral, keep plugging away.
Well, your dreams don't have an expiration date.
Never.
Everybody feels like I didn't do it in my 20s and 30s. You know what? That 20s and 30s is where everybody else fucks off and gives up on their dreams. So keep fighting, keep getting your dreams out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel I wasted my childhood acting. If somebody said, hey, you can be a director, writer, I would have been like, oh, I like that better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Tarantino example. It's like the one thing I try to tell people is like, look, just from doing this show and interviewing filmmakers, everyone's got a completely different story. Like, you can't mimic. You can't be like, well, that's how it's going to be different no matter what, so just follow your own path and, hopefully you'll be the story that's...
Yeah, the only thing they had in common was they didn't stop, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
this
a verb.
turned so inspirational, guys. I'm like beaming.
Let's go back to Stalker. So let's wrap. We'll wrap with. So Rabbit is saying for us all to be looking forward to what you guys do with this, and after that, you were just talking about the horror comedy that you want to. So hopefully, if Rabbit does really great, maybe it gets you guys that little bit more power.
Bob the Monster movie.
Bob the Monster movie.
And
I
the
want to see
comic
that.
book world. How's that been treated?
Oh my gosh! Really,
I didn't know about that.
Really, really good. Jennifer and I, our very first time writing any comics that were published was for Marvel in
Secret Wars Journal number 5
with Night Nurse, and we were really stoked, and that was actually really well received.
From Daredevil and everything.
Yeah.
And Daredevil was in that too. He's my favorite, so we just shoved him into a panel, and it was awesome.
And then Neil deGrasse Tyson jumped out.
He's my future husband, ladies. Hands off.
Okay.
I'm taking that one.
you may have him, but when he isn't available, you obviously think the Soska sisters.
Clearly.
So we're writing, Jake Thomas, the editor from the first one, he's such a talented guy, and he's got
Great taste in writers, Jake. I love you.
And he was like, "Hey, would you guys like to write a Guardians of the Galaxy story?" And I was like, "Oh my god,
I'll do that."
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's Guardians of Infinity. It's number 8. It's the very last issue. So there's a main story that goes through all of the issues where a different time and different universe Guardians are in this kind of kerfuffle together. I don't want to ruin it. And then the other half of the comic book is a one-off, and they get different artists and different writers. And the very last one is Jen and me, and it's Juanan Ramirez.
Juanan Ramirez is the artist,
and he's insanely talented, new guy, but totally check out his stuff. And
the first story we pitched is the one we went with. Just like with Night Nurse, the first story we pitched was the one we all got really excited about. And
I lost my shit when I wrote Star-Lord. I freaked out. It's Star-Lord, Kitty Pryde, and Rocket Raccoon. And how can you not lose your shit, right?
It's really good rocket writing. Because we got spoiled because we got to read all of the Guardians of Infinity story because I wanted to see what the other short stories were like. Not that it's a competition. But
Marvel sends you all that stuff, right? Like, we need that for research. So if you could send us all those free comics,
Marvel will send you any Marvel. When you're working for Marvel, I'd be like, I wonder what's happening with Wiccan and Hulkling. They're like, here you go, check it out.
Wow,
secure file. You are once you're in the family.
Marvel is
amazing.
It's as a nerd. Have you guys ever been to that? Have you been to the head office?
No, I would love to so much.
Oh, dude,
lads,
when you do your ghost shit, guys, let's go to the Marvel office. I'll hit up Jake. I'll be like,
Warren Museum.
When we win the money from doing Elevator.
Hey.
Stay away from my money.
Hey.
Yeah.
Just try to stop us. We're coming, ladies.
And then we're also working with Daniel Way and Rob Dumo on Kill Crazy Nymphos Attack, which is our first full graphic novel. It's 144 pages or 157, something like that.
Let's just keep writing it until we stop.
Yeah, and it's about this dude called Purvis Gunt, and he's a disgusting human being, and he's obsessed with porn and fucking chicks, but no one will fuck him, and he won't fuck his wife, and she's like, maybe, but he ignores her, and he's a shitty scientist, and they're making a female Viagra, and he's like, I'm gonna make women want to fuck me, but he's a shitty scientist, so he makes the worst thing ever, and they become kill crazy nymphos that attack, so now they have to make a cure, so no women will ever want to fuck them.
It's a lot like Dead Hooker in the Trunk, in the way that, with the title, you don't even need an explanation on what happens, and
it's pretty solid.
Yeah, if I saw that in a comic show, I'd be like, I think that's for me.
It's a pretty extreme satire, but I always loved, Daniel Way created Daken, Wolverine's bisexual son, who had pheromone control powers, so he would make Bullseye question his sexuality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude, and the fact that was in mainstream Marvel, that's cool.
Yeah.
And he would seduce dudes all the time, and it was like, this is kind of cool to see it from a different angle. And his Deadpool was so choice, so you can imagine how insane it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a secret comic book that we're working on right now, which
is
it's an ongoing series with somebody you actually mentioned earlier in the interview, but I didn't say shit.
Oh, I know already.
Do you? Oh no! But
we only mentioned one other comic writer, but anyway, you didn't know that. All right.
Yeah,
moving on.
Yeah, it's something that got passed on as a TV show a few times, and
there's a lot of Easter eggs in this interview.
Yeah, exactly. Years later, this will be
turned into
2 years after this.
I'll send you guys comics when it comes out. I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud of how weird it is, and it's going to exist.
That's super cool. Well, we're glad that we were able to
finally,
line up schedules and make this happen, and really appreciate you coming out of your way to come to my weird.
Dude, just wanted to steal your Nirvana show.
I know, but that's not going to happen.
No, I just want to delicately touch it.
I'm going to show the Nirvana stuff to Sylvia, but I'm going to keep an eye on her.
I'm wearing Nirvana socks. I'm so excited.
Really?
I am.
You guys know he was in the audience.
I know.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Right? Okay.
That's nerdy.
I want you to mimic the hug that Kurt gave you.
Yeah.
Just kind of all right.
Walk them through it. Details.
And then Rebecca, we're going for drinks later.
Okay.
Really?
Good plan.
I don't know.
We'll make sure we do.
We're ready to
figure it out. We'll figure it out.
If you guys are in town, we're gonna go do something.
I would love that.
Why aren't we doing the live point break?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
We're doing
live point break.
Wait,
I'm
I got an idea.
Emma.
How about
I'm sure she'll come
elevator? You guys are there anyway.
I'm going in tomorrow, and I'm going to see if you guys can be the test team.
You guys need
Tell
to be the test
Tell
team.
Turk will be great.
Turk.
And I'm
Turk's
writing
in,
down
I'm
live
in.
point break, and I'm gonna
Live point break.
and it's happening live. Live point break sounds even better. But I'll message you guys tomorrow. And
she's writing it in her notebook. I wish that you could see it.
notes.
It's all just live Point Break written over and over again.
Over and over.
Like
and
an insane. It's like a John Doe notebook from Seven.
Point Break, call Dad.
Well, thank you so much for dropping by. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week.